Honorable members, I wish to announce that the vacancy which occurred in the National Assembly owing to the resignation of Mr. KZ Morapela has been filled by the nomination of Mr. T. Gaula with effect from the 31st October this year. The Honorable Member has made a subscribed to the oath in the Deputy Speaker's office. Order. The first item on today's order paper is questions addressed to ministers in the social cluster.
Deputy Speaker.
Yes, ma'am.
Deputy Speaker, I'd like to address you in terms of Rule 109, if I may.
Yes, Honourable Member.
Deputy Speaker, this is the second time that the Minister of Basic Education will not be here to answer questions in her rotation. We know the Deputy is here, but really the Minister is the Cabinet member responsible, and we therefore feel that we're being prejudiced in terms of our ability to exercise oversight. I've been requested by the member in whose questions, whose name the questions on the order paper for the Democratic Alliance are, to request that those questions stand over to a question day next week, and that additional time is provided so we can exercise oversight over the Minister, and that she can be responsible for fulfilling her constitutional obligations to account to this House regularly. This is the second rotation that's been missed, and that's why we're making this extraordinary request. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Your consent. Yes, Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Honourable Deputy Speaker, the Minister of Basic Education is presently leading a delegation in UNESCO. It's an important forum, international forum, where the country has to be represented. Indeed, it is so. If the Minister was within the country and disregarding her obligations, one could understand it. However, there is a further point. The rules are very, very clear that a Deputy Minister can act on behalf of the Minister in his or her absence. If indeed the intention was to exclude Deputy Ministers from participating, then the rules should be very clear about it. If indeed this House is of the opinion that Deputy Ministers should not participate in the debate, that they are not part of the Executive, which the Constitution clearly states that they are part of the Executive, then indeed we are entitled to do so. By responding on behalf of the Minister, I'm fulfilling the Executive responsibility for the accountable Minister, and I do believe that this is a technical argument which certainly is inconsistent with either the rules or the Constitution. Thank you.
Yes.
Deputy Speaker, Deputy Speaker, if I may, because I was on the floor, to say that I accept what the Deputy Minister is saying. However, as much as he likes to think so, he is not a member of Cabinet, as defined by the Constitution. Ordinarily, we have no problem with Deputy Ministers answering on one-off occasions. This is the second rotation that has been missed. We're therefore making the point that there are extraordinary circumstances that warrant us hearing from the Minister. The last time she chose to open a school over her parliamentary duties, now she's prioritising international business over the basic education of this country. I really would like her questions that we have on the order paper to stand over for the following day so that we can get answers from the Minister and not a member who's not even a member of the Cabinet.
I'll answer you. Chief Whip.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, we cannot correct a wrong with another wrong. We cannot correct the wrong with another wrong. Rule 109 that the Honourable Steenhuisen is citing specifically says that we must agree from time to time in the Chief Whip's forum to follow a particular route. He did not propose that we discuss it collectively. We did not agree on that, so he's doing it on his own without us. Secondly, if we put this question down for another day, we're inconveniencing not only us but other people as well. We cannot agree with that.
Yes, Honourable Member.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Firstly, Deputy Speaker, we want to express ourselves on what the Deputy Minister is saying. It's very unfortunate, and in our view, it's arrogant that his response is what he's saying. Parliament is serious. It is equally serious It's an obligation of ministers, as per the Constitution of the Republic, to come and report to Parliament. If you are telling us about UNESCO, you are creating an impression that UNESCO is more important than Parliament. That can't be the case. And so that logic must be rejected with the contempt that it deserves. Secondly, in the Chief Whip's Forum, Honorable Steenhuisen, there was actually an agreement or a common condemnation on all parties that we cannot accept the continuous absence of ministers to come and report. And therefore, that proposal must not be rejected, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I would ask Chief Whip of the ruling party that let us make a quick consultation if needs be. Honorable Mutsecha must come and report to Parliament. Otherwise, it would mean the whole term she did not come. It can't be. Surely the first step is that we agree. It's not like we're asking for a favor. It's a constitutional obligation. And if you are making noise, it means you don't know your own constitution. It says she must come here and report. So I request that it's a progressive proposal on the basis of its validity. Honorable Mutsecha must be made to come and report to Parliament, because if this be the case, it means we're going to leave the whole of 2015 without her coming to report to Parliament. It can't be.
Right.
So my request is, if needs be, let's caucus quickly as the Chief Whips and agree that the DA's proposal be passed, and then we can have a progressive way forward. Thank you.
Honorable members, Rule 109(3) reads as follows. If a minister is absent on a day when questions relating to the relevant cluster are to be answered, and those questions are not answered by another cabinet member or by the deputy minister concerned, the speaker may, if requested to do so by the member in whose name a question to the minister stands, and after consultation with the leader of government business, direct that questions to that minister be placed on the question paper for the first question session for members following that day, and an additional 30 minutes be added to the question time for that member. The deputy minister is here. The deputy minister is willing to respond to the question. And so, honorable members, I feel that for current purposes, I would strongly suggest that we proceed with the deputy minister responding to the question, but convey the concern of the House as expressed by members here. That is acceptable to do so. I would recommend that we go that rule, honorable members. Let's proceed that way.
Deputy Speaker.
Yes, honorable member.
I respect the fact that you've made a ruling, and if that's your ruling, that's fine. However, I don't think that the rules can be read outside in isolation without the Constitution. And 92(3) is very clear, where it says that they must act in accordance with the Constitution, that's ministers, and provide Parliament with full and regular reports concerning matters under their control. That is not taking place, but I respect your ruling, and we will try and move forward.
Yes. Honorable Deputy Chief.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. In the Chief Whip's Forum, we said that we'll consult the leader of government business regarding this matter. That is what we agreed upon. So I want to plead with our colleagues that we proceed with the business of the day, so that that matter will be attended to. Thanks.
Honorable members, thank you. I suggest that we proceed. The first order is questions addressed to ministers to the social cluster, as I said. Members may press the talk button, and if they wish to ask supplementary questions. And formally, I'm informed that upon the request by the Minister of Water and Sanitation that there has been agreement amongst political parties that questions 542 to the Minister of Water and Sanitation, which has been asked by Honorable K.S. Kaula, will be taken first. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker, and thanks to all parties for the indulgence. The department has put in place the following to mitigate the impact of less than anticipated rainfall that has led to drought in certain parts of our country. Water conservation and water demand management measures, including the War on Leaks program to minimize water losses, surface water resource management, managing and use of groundwater resources, including drilling and equipping of additional boreholes, the reuse and as well as exploration of desalination of water in the coastal areas, particularly the 3 provinces, the Western Cape, Eastern Cape, and KwaZulu-Natal. The Adopt a River program as part of the eradication of invading alien plants, the eradication of illegal water use, the development of surface water resources in terms of other than building new dams, but also making sure that what we now do, we increase the storage capacity using different innovative solutions. The transfer of water to stretched catchments through the implementation of phase 2 of the Lesotho Highlands Water Project, the emergency transfer of from Tugela to Khudetro, Otongati River transfer to Hazelmere that has run dry. And lastly, the promotion of the recycling of water, as well as promotion of other alternative uses, particularly focusing on sanitation, that it is not all about flushing, it is all about hygienic sanitation solutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This question is asked by Honorable Kaula, whose name is in her place. Yes, Honorable Member.
Honorable Hlophe Nzimande, in case you forgot. Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Minister, the biggest crisis is that the state has no internal capacity, but depends on service providers to fix even something as basic as leak tap. As for water, the state continue to use private contractors to fix the aging water infrastructure. How would you explain the dramatic reduction of technicians dealing with fixing water infrastructure over the past 20 years? What are you planning to do to ensure that more technicians get employed back to the public service?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. In fact, contrary to what has been raised around the lack of capacity, what the state has are the water boards that have now come in and stepped in on the incapacity of some of our local authorities. And one can safely indicate the work that we are now doing in Bushbuck Ridge, turning around the problems of water incapacity, the work that Lepelle Water Board has also done in Guyana to make such interventions. The use of the private sector, in fact, what has been an issue is to appreciate the fact that we had an aging capacity in the water sector. Secondly, there has also been the non-availability of those with skills opting to work for the private sector because of the financial opportunities, and hence the recruitment of the 15,000 young people as part of the War on Leaks, working together with the Department of Higher Education and Training, as well as the partnership with the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, in terms of back to basics and looking at the capacity that local authorities have. Yes, what can really circumvent the situation is the ability to manage, its political leadership and determination to deal with the issues forthright. And lastly, it is not just about that, it is about being water wise as ordinary South Africans. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you. Honorable Tleko Sovita. Honorable Balindlela. Oh, Pusavita. Sorry, ma'am. There she is. Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I did not press the button.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Go ahead, Honorable Member.
Diabulela Sekela Somlong. Minister, on Monday, the 2nd November 2015, I visited Ward 52 in Dispatch in the Nelson Mandela Metropole area, where I saw broken and leaking pipes, and empty reservoirs. At Kwanabutle, I met with 3 families having water streaming straight through their houses. And this has happened over the last 15 years, affecting the health of the children. The country's water scarcity is made worse by the government's inability
Order, honorable
to
members.
maintain,
Please,
manage, and properly finance our country's water infrastructure. Last time you were here, Minister, you said you would announce the date for the release of the blue and green drop reports by 30th September. 4 weeks later,
Your time
and
has
you are
expired,
still keeping
honorable
the
member.
reports from us. When will you release the reports?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker, and thanks for the follow-up question from the former Premier of the Eastern Cape. I want to also remind the former Premier of the Western Cape, coming from the former Premier of Gauteng, who can proudly say, as we speak today, Gauteng has a blue drop that has consistently been there during my time as the Premier, and you failed to help the Eastern Cape. Secondly, I also think, honorable members, that it would also be important that as we deal with all these issues, we must also concede that the capacity of local government to deal with the maintenance, because those Ward 52, Ward whatever, are the areas that we are now dealing with, and hence in Nelson Mandela, through Minister Pravin Gordhan and other departments, we are making interventions, and our program on the WARN leaks is also dealing with that. The work that is underway of making sure that local authorities are developing their own 10 to 15-year maintenance plans is but part of the interventions that we are dealing with. The fact that you now have a standalone department for the first time on water and sanitation demonstrates the seriousness that we are dealing with. When are we going to deal with these issues? We are dealing with them. The Western Cape is number 4 on the blue drop. Thank you very much.
Deputy Speaker, on a point of order, the question was, when are you releasing the report? The Minister has not answered that question.
Honorable Minister, you want to respond to that?
Yes. If you listen, you'll be smarter. Honorable members, a report, when it gets released, the immediate clients and those who must deal with the reports, it's local government. The report is with local authorities. It will come with the comments to the National Cabinet so that then you have a report that is inclusive of what local authorities have raised. It is not with Nomvula, it is not with the Minister, but the former Premier of the Eastern Cape should understand the report is long out. It is with the relevant authorities. Thank you, Nyabong.
Honorable Kekana.
Ke a leboga mmusa kgotla. A lefapha le na le diprograma tsa go tsibosa setšhaba mabapi le tiriso ya metsi ka tshomarelo ka ntlha ya komelelo. Ke a leboga.
Sa nne le metsi a lekaneng ka tlhago. Seo ke sona re se dirang, re dirisana gape le lefapha la tsa thuto le mafapha fapaneng go netefatsa gore batjha ba rona le bone bana le kitso. So ke yona ntho e re dirang eo. Gate leina lebe seromo. So Nomvula wo re tshepa gore ga gona motho o naganang gore ke ena tlatlang le metlholo. Se ke maemo a loapi a re aparetseng e seng rona naga ya rona fela. Maemo a loapi a aparetse lefatshe ka bophara. Ke a leboga.
Thank you. Honorable Dudley.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Honourable Minister, your department has appealed to South Africans to use water sparingly, Now, clearly there will be water cuts. How will the department be putting instructive messages to the public on saving water? Will it be across all media? Will it be frequent enough for memorability and soon enough whilst there's still water to be saved? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much. Already, there is a partnership that is now branded as Water Ambassadors. It's the private sector, civil society, different non-governmental organizations, and through the Strategic Water Partnership Network that includes big industry in it. Part of what we are dealing with, yes, is to deal with publicity, but also educating communities on behavioral change. Just the basics of how to use water and taking responsibility, starting with management of those, management by those who are in charge of dealing with water resources in government. Secondly, dealing with institutions such as our water boards, partnering with the research commissions on alternative and innovative solutions, the media coming on board, and what is of importance is also the young ambassadors that we have started to work with. So yes, it will be through media campaigns. This coming Sunday, the South African Council of Churches has made a commitment that they will be praying and focusing on water. This coming Monday next week, what is happening is that all scientists will be meeting at the University of KwaZulu-Natal to look at innovative water generating solutions. So both science as well as spiritual connection is coming into place to say, let's find various means to deal with water. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. We now move to question 524, asked by Honourable Makondo to the Minister of Arts and Culture. Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and thanks, Honourable Member, for your question. My department implements the legacy projects through formal project steering committee comprising of all stakeholders, including relevant national departments, provincial departments, district municipalities, and local municipalities. This includes ensuring that infrastructure and resources such as roads, telephone, electricity, geographic information, water are made available in order to allow easy access to specified projects. District and local municipalities are required to align legacy projects with their IDPs. Some examples include Ngome Museum, which contributes to the surrounding communities, having electricity connections in areas that never had electricity before. Inguza Hill Museum in Lusikisiki and the Nelson Mandela site in Mvezo, where boreholes have been installed, giving surrounding villages access to water closer to the village, to cite but a few. In some areas, there are still challenges regarding the upgrading of access road, and this is taken up with the relevant departments. My department further develops and implements legacy projects in a manner that foster ownership through public consultation, and committees like the steering committee, the project steering committee are in place. I thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. Honourable Makondo.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. Thanks for the comprehensive response, Minister. In Blood River Heritage Site, where Ngome Museum is, the surrounding communities stand to benefit from economic spin-off from tourism sector, which can as well create jobs for the locals and boost local economy and uplift local crafters. But Minister, the construction of a road and installation of water infrastructure and the finalization of the impasse between the two monuments in the Blood River Heritage Site is a deterrent to the full narrative of the history of the heritage site. And Minister, when are we going to address the impulse in Blood River Heritage Site? Thanks.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The impulse we are talking about is historical. Historical understanding Ngome and understanding that very battle of what was called the Blood River, with the process of reconciliation, the emphasis we're making is that it is a two-way street. So both parties should understand that they have a responsibility to meet each other halfway on that. There's been a lot of work which has been done on the side of Ingome to ensure that there is connection between the museum on the other side. But there is still a resistance somewhat. And this is what we are seized with, and emphasizing the point that all of us have a responsibility to ensure that we make reconciliation a task of all of us, not some of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Makause.
Ke a leboga motlatsa Musa Kgotla. Re bone ka ngwaga wa Sedimonthole letona mo ngwageng o fetileng wa 2014. Mo presidente a thankgolola semmuso le borago le le kopanyang Blood River le Ncome. E le sengwe se re se bitsang gore e ne le kopanyo ya maafrikanere le maZulu.
Honorable member, the minister is requesting, he wants to hear you. He was just saying go slow, he's putting on his...
Ke puo ya rona ntate e letlelesegile mo Afrika Borwa o tshwantse o sologele gore mongwe le mongwe o emang o tla bua puo ya gago. Letona ka ngwaga wa Sedimonthole ngwaga wa 2014 re bone mo presidente a thankgolola semmuso le borogo le le kopanyang Ncome le Blood River. E le lenaneo la go tlisa poelano mo gareng ga maafrikanere le maZulu. Me re bone maafrikanere ba tswala lephata lengwe la bone le leng gore le tlela bone hela go tsena ka mo go bone. Lefapha la gago le dirile eng go bona gore mo nakong e tlang sewa ga nkitla se diragala.
Honorable Minister.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu lungelo hloniphekile leParliament. Kuningi ke okwenziwe umnyango wami kusukela ngaleso sikhathi ngalolo suku okhuluma ngalo la ngomhla zi-16 kuZibandlela ngonyaka odlule. Siyaxoxisana nalabo ekufanele sixoxisane nabo ingakho impendulo yami kuyilungu elihloniphekile lapha ibithi ukubuyisana umsebenzi wonke umuntu okhona la kulelizwe lakithi. Kufanele sonke siqonde ukuthi akubona abathize ekufanele badlale indima ekubuyisaneni kodwa wonke umuntu. Ngitheke mengiphendula ngathi laba bangaphesheya kwebhuloho okhuluma ngalo njengamanje siyaxoxisana nabo. Siyayibeka futhi into yokuthi ukubuyisana akufanele kube yinto abanye bethu abacabanga ukuthi kufanele icelwe. Kufanele mengabe nibuyisana kufanele nibeke phansi nonke izikhali. Ungabukhona ogodla isikhali omunye sibeke phansi. So qhubeka ke futhi sixoxisane nabo kodwa siyayigcizelela into yokuthi wonke umuntu uneqhaza ekufanele adlale ukuthi kubuyiswane. Ngiyabonga kakhulu sekela somlomo.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Esther Hazen of the IFP.
Thank you, Deputy Chair, Honorable Minister. Can the Minister confirm that all structures current or buildings, current and new that are being built by the department conform to standards that provide and can accommodate people with disabilities, particularly people who are blind and especially at departmental buildings in our rural areas? And secondly, advise us to why traditional leaders who are primarily custodians of cultural practices in our traditional communities are not given a more prominent role to play within the mandate of this department. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Well, the department is doing everything in the structures or construction of buildings, the new buildings, to ensure that our people with disabilities access those structures and buildings. I'm not sure, Honorable Deputy Speaker, about the second question. It's so broad that traditional leaders are not given a role. In each and every community, traditional or in townships or in urban areas, we interact with people in those particular areas. All the people who are leaders in those areas, be they traditional leaders or not traditional leaders, are engaged. There is no situation where a program unfolds in a particular area without engaging leaders in those particular areas. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Kobisa.
Ngiyabonga Sekela Somlomo. Mhlonishwa Ngqongqoshe, kukhona izinto ezimbili ezibalulekile abantu abakhala ngazo. Ukuthi abayitholi imfundo eyanele eqhamuka ngasemnyangweni uma kwenziwa lemsebenzi. Okokuqala lokho mhlawumbe abasebenzi abatholakali kalula kuba baxoxe nabo usuku nosuku qhubela. Okwesibili bese kuba ukuthi ekwakhiweni lemsebenzi enomlando abantu bakithi njengakhona le koncome nakwezinye indawo bathi abakwazi ukuthi bafumane amathuba ukuthi nabo bekwazi ukuyithuthukisa. Mhlambe ungqongqoshe engathini kulokho?
Minister.
Ngiyabonga lunga elihloniphekile. Noma uqalile nje umbuzo wakho oqala wawushiya phakathi. Bengisalalele uye wawushiya phakathi. Kodwa ke kulokho khuluma ngakho kweindawo lezi ezinomlando. Yinto le esiye siyithathele phezulu. Uzokwazi ukuthi kuneyindawo engengayibala la nezinye engayibalile. La into yokuqala sesiyibuka ukuthi amathuba emsebenzi akhiwa kanjani lapho kuleyo ndawo leyo la kwakhiwa khona lezi zakhiwo esizakhaya. So abantu ke abakhona yebo bazoqhubeka bekhale lunga elihloniphekile ngoba angeke kwenela. Angeke futhi kuze kukwazi ukuthi wonke umuntu okhona kuleyo naleyo ndawo akwazi ukuthola ithuba lomsebenzi kumbe amathuba emsebenzi. Kodwa ke labo abakwaziyo ukuthi batholakale ngaleso sikhathi siyagcizelela lokho ngoba kuyona yonke iminyango kahulumeni sinomgomo ukuthi sibheke ukuthi umnyango ngomnyango wenzani ukwakha amathuba emsebenzi kubantu bakithi. Siyabonga.
We now move to question 531, asked by Honorable Maisela to the Minister of Health. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Honorable Member Ntate Maisela, I think I've answered this question many times before, but it always comes back in many different forms. Through questions for written reply in this parliament, through media queries, press conferences, in parliamentary portfolio committees or select committees. And at all times, my answer has always been consistent. Yes, Honorable Member, there is definitely shortage of staff in most public health institutions. First and most importantly, there is a general shortage of health workers globally. We actually even know the figure. According to the World Health Organization, there's a shortage of 4 million health workers worldwide. And unless this fundamental issue is resolved, the question will keep on recurring. Unfortunately, this global shortage differs from continent to continent, from region to region, from country to country, but even within countries themselves. Further bad news is that the sub-Saharan region where we are is the hardest hit. It has actually been declared a special crisis area in terms of staffing by the World Health Organization. This global shortage explains why even highly developed countries are still actively recruiting doctors from all over the world. USA, Europe, Australia, even rich Middle Eastern countries are actively recruiting doctors and nurses from elsewhere. But in this aggressive recruitment, developing countries with lower GDPs are always the losers and very badly affected. The state of affairs prompted the World Health Organization to pass several resolutions at the World Health Assembly in Geneva to try and mitigate this issue. One of the resolutions is that developed countries must not actively recruit nurses and doctors from developing countries. At the Commonwealth Ministerial Meeting of Health, which was held at the sidelines of the World Health Assembly in Geneva in 2011, Kenya even proposed a motion that for every doctor recruited to a developed country from a developing country, that developed country must pay every cent that was spent in training that doctor. Unfortunately, that motion was defeated. Just here near our home, SADC has passed a motion that is directed us at South Africa. It simply says, South Africa, being the biggest economy in the region, must not actively recruit health workers from fellow SADC members. In 1998, the World Health Organization adopted the Alma Ata Declaration, which was declared at the small town of Alma Ata in the former Soviet Union. Article number 2 of that declaration states, and I quote, "The existing gross inequality status of people, particularly between developed and developing countries, as well as within countries themselves, is politically, socially, and economically unacceptable and is therefore of common concern to all countries. This glaring disparity that leads to gross inequality is very glaring with human resources. Back home, this inequality is glaring between the public and private sector. But there are also inequalities within the public sector itself, from province to province, with predominantly rural province being the hardest hit. Yes, because more than 80% of doctors are in the private sector, saving only 16% of the population, when just over 20% is in the public sector, saving 84% of the population. To address this issue, Deputy Speaker, in 2011, we spoke with all the 8 medical schools to take more students than they usually do. And we sponsor them, we pay them extra money for that. We also dramatically increased the students training in Cuba from the 60 and the 80 that we used to send to 1,000. We are also trying to expand our medical school. We started with the demerger of Medunsa and the establishment of the Sefako Makhato Health Sciences University. We are also exploring possibility of training in other countries other than Cuba, and this process has started. To deal with this issue also, the United Nations last month, when they were declaring sustainable development goals, actually in goal 3C said, substantially increase health financing and recruitment, development, training and retention of health workforce in developing countries, especially in least developed countries and small island developing states. Thank you.
Thank you, Member. Honorable Maisela.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Since public health delivery is the main thrust of the Department of Health Service Delivery Mechanism and alleviation of human resource shortage, what priority is the Minister giving to this problem presently? Thank you.
Letona, o botsitse potso mo. A go mo phete ntate ha o utlwa.
Apologize, Deputy Speaker. I got distracted. Sorry.
Ask the question that.
No, I didn't hear it. I want him to repeat.
Thank you.
No.
Honourable Speaker.
I'm apologizing, Speaker. I didn't hear the follow-up. I'm asking him to repeat.
Yes, I did.
Yes.
Honourable Speaker, I was asking the Minister that since public health delivery is the main thrust of the Department of Health Service Delivery Mechanism and alleviation of human resource shortage, what priority is the Minister giving to this problem presently?
Deputy Speaker, just before the Minister answers, I think Parliament must take exception to ministers who don't listen when their turn to listen comes and go and play mraba with other ministers.
No.
It can't be. We must take exception. I'm surprised that you did not take exception. You must speak very hard on him, that we've had to waste time. A question must be repeated because he was playing mraba with another minister. If it was another member of parliament somewhere, you would have quoted the rules or even called security. You must be hard on the ministers. They must take the work of parliament seriously.
Honourable
Please.
Member. Yes,
Please.
Honourable Member, please take your seat. Honourable Minister, go ahead and answer the question, please.
Honorable Minister, Deputy Speaker, sorry, I think I apologize for what happened. There's no reason for that overkill. I apologize and I'm still apologizing. But I was not playing muraba. Yeah. Honorable Member, I thought I spent time outlining this problem about our priorities. And I said our priorities are divided into long-term and short-term. In the short term, I said we started from 2011 to encourage universities to take more medical students above what they usually take, and they've done so. It started with vets in 2011 when they took 40 extra students from disadvantaged communities, which in terms of the scores in the universities, they will never have been admitted. And we gave them money for that. We gave them 8 million. From there, all the other medical schools followed, where we are encouraging them that students or people from rural areas who don't usually get admitted into universities must be admitted as a short-term measure of this. I then said in the medium term, we increase students who are training in Cuba. We used to send 60 from 1998. From there, we sent 8 in 2011. From 2013, we are sending 1,000 students in Cuba in order to try and resolve this issue. I further said, we are discussing with other countries around the world to see if they can take students from South Africa and train them. Last week, I was in Russia, where they've opened special medical schools which are teaching in English, and they are training lots of African countries. I don't share ideology of hating Russia with you. I don't. And we are very much in power, and we deal with Russia. And other African countries are dealing with Russia. And Russia has opened medical schools for English teaching. Many African countries are there, and we are going to go. If the countries you share ideology with, if they open up for our medical students, we'll send them there. And you can just show me the country will send them there. So you can't make such a remark. Thank you. Thank you.
Honourable Carter. Honourable Filtane.
Honorable Speaker, thank you. Honorable Minister, have you perhaps thought of aligning the education with the needs of your department? Why did your department close so many training facilities in the recent past? I'm one of those people who put to you a question for a written reply. But the response that I got from your department was so disappointing, I haven't even taken it to the person who put the question to me to process through to you. Because I was told about when it comes to facilities that is being considered. When and how, no details. And then, to make matters worse, I was quoted a program called Operation Pakisa, and that was it. As to when facilities will be improved in Butterworth Hospital, the response you gave me in black and white came nowhere. Lastly, do you have the money That's what we want to know. Do you have the money for providing the facilities? Yes. If so, when are you providing the facilities? If no, why not? What are you doing about
Honourable
it to
member,
make sure
your
that we've
time
got
has
the budget?
expired.
Thank you.
No, take your seat, honourable member, you'll get your chance. No, take your seat first.
Honourable,
One person at a time.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, I hope, I wish I understood that question because it's so muddled and mixed up. He's mixing up a lot of things. Because he's talking about Operation Pakisa in the training of health staff. He's talking about money for facilities.
Point of order, Chair. Operation Pakisa is mentioned in the letter that I got from you as a reply. I can go to my office and bring it here now. It's there. That's why I say it made no sense. I couldn't even take it to the person who asked me. Come from your office.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, perhaps it will help me to know which question he's talking about because I cannot remember. He must remind me whether I wrote about Operation Pakisa in the training of health personnel because that's not what Operation Pakisa is all about. Secondly, Honourable Speaker, I think if he's referring, by training facilities, he's referring to nursing colleges. I answered that question many times, that the problem of nursing colleges happened when a decision was taken to start training nurses at universities, whereby the departments of health in provinces start ignoring nursing colleges. We are actually reversing that. I've met with all the vice chancellors of universities to discuss this issue. We have got a plan to renovate the nursing colleges, which were just neglected, not really closed down, quite a number of them because they are still there, to try and increase the number of nurses that are being trained. So the story of Operation Pakisa, I would like to be clarified at what juncture was it raised, because I don't remember doing that. I might have forgotten, but it has got nothing to do with training. Thank you.
Honourable Carter.
Honourable Deputy Speaker.
Yes.
May I have your attention, please?
Yes.
Well, the minister has to be reminded about something. I think it's only fair that we allow the member to remind him so that he can answer the question fully.
No, I have.
The latter part of the question wasn't responded to.
Yes, I have passed that. I don't.
You are Mosha. What does speak?
Deputy Speaker.
Honourable Carter.
Deputy Speaker, I would just firstly, before I answer the question, just on you trying to hit me over the knuckles earlier on, I was trying to raise a point of clarity to you, Deputy Speaker. I know the procedure that that only one person asks a question. I do know the rules. But Deputy Speaker, through you, Minister, taking into consideration that about 4 years ago, it was said that about 60% of nursing staff in South Africa was over the age of 50. Can you, if it's possible, tell us today what is the average age of nursing staff in South Africa, number one? And if you do have a percentages, what is the percentage of nursing staff over the age of 50? Thank you.
Yes, Honourable Deputy Speaker, it is true, and you are aware that this matter has not been reported only in nursing. It has been reported among engineers, it has been reported among lecturers in universities, etc., etc. So within the nursing fraternity, it is true that most of them are of that age, but I didn't bring the actual percentages here of who is beyond 50, etc. I can go and get them for you, but I don't have them off my head. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honourable Volmink.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Deputy Speaker. Honourable Minister, the state of our public health institutions and the quality of the services that they deliver to our citizens are undoubtedly linked to the performance of our provincial departments of health. In the last financial year, 6 provincial departments, all ANC run, received qualified audit opinions with findings. Now, you've said before that MECs are chosen by premiers and have therefore effectively washed your hands of their poor performance. But yet one of your departments, the national department's objectives in the current strategic plan is to have 7 unqualified audit opinions for provincial departments by 2017-2018. Honourable Minister, what specific actions are you going to take to address one of the root causes of these poor audit outcomes as identified by the Auditor General, which is, and I quote, the lack of consequences for poor performance and transgressions. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I assume this is a new question, but I'm prepared to answer it. Because the question is about HR, is talking about audit outcomes. I never washed off my hands of responsibility in provinces. The issue you are arguing about was the issue of firing an MEC. I've said that many times even in the portfolio committee, that because there was a demand that I must fire a certain MEC, and I said it's not ministers who fire or hire MECs in terms of the constitution, is done by premiers. That's what I said. I was not washing my hands off. On the issue of audits, we are taking responsibility. We have actually established a forum of CFOs where we meet with CFOs of all the provinces. The biggest weakness which we are finding is that in quite a number of provinces, these posts are quite vacant. And that's another problem because I'm not the one who appoints them. And we've been trying to push for that. There are quite a number of vacancies in this area because there are very few CFOs in the country. But we are taking that responsibility. Last week, I met the Auditor General about this issue, and the Auditor General office explained to me which province is doing what and is not doing what, and I said in the next mid-MEC, I'll sit with them one by one and go through this issue. But the issue of washing off my hands, I've never done so. But the issue of firing MECs, because we keep on repeating it, is the job of premiers, not of ministers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We now move to question number 541, asked by Honorable Bozoli to the Minister of Higher Education and Training. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. In order to ensure an appropriately funded higher education sector, in terms of international comparable benchmark funding levels, an additional amount of 19.7 billion rands per annum is required in the baseline for university subsidies, excluding the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, with an annual increment for inflation and enrollment growth to meet the NDP targets. To ensure that 25.5% of students' enrollments are funded through the NSFAS, which is our assessment of the percentage of students who qualify for NSFAS, to cover the full cost of study loans for poor and working class students, an additional amount of 37 billion rand is required in the baseline over the 2016-2017 to 2018-2019 medium-term expenditure framework. This would have to increase year on year to match inflation, as well as growth in the system to meet the NDP targets. I must also say, Honorable Deputy Speaker, that it's unacceptable for Honorable Pozzoli not to check with my diary and issue a statement yesterday to say I am not going to be answering questions. I am here to answer questions because I'm not scared to confront the DA on any matter that
On a
relates
point
to the
of order,
Department
Deputy
of Higher
Speaker.
Education and Training.
The
Thank you.
The Minister himself sent out a message to Parliament to say he's not coming. He sent it.
Honorable Bozoli.
Thank you, Minister. I'm very glad you read my statements. We heard from your department this morning that at least 475 million will be required in this financial year and not in the 2016 financial year to keep universities, particularly historically disadvantaged ones, from going bankrupt in early 2016 as a result of the fees freeze. We were also told that you would be taking this money from other priorities in your department, in particular the National Skills Fund, as well as from the 2 billion grant to develop HBUs. This can, to use your own words, only be characterized as robbing the poor to give to the poor. This is a shocking precedent. What we have now is the President decreeing that there will be no fees and the poor paying for it. Why, Minister, have you not called for funds to be reassigned from frivolous and unnecessary expenditures such as a new car for Minister Motsoaledi to the point of 1.2 million in the midterm budget, which is under consideration now? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I'm really giving up on the opportunism of the DA. The question she is asking was answered this morning in the meeting of the committees to say that there is 2 billion rands over the next 5 years to address issues of quality in historically disadvantaged institutions. For purposes of alleviating the first 4 months of next year, we are going to take from that money. But that money will be returned in the outer years. It's a 5-year program. We are committing that we are not going to deduct from the money of the HDIs in a manner that will actually prejudice them. The fact that we must take money from whatever you want, you can only say that because we are not the ruling party, we are not the government, we are just being grandstanding and being opportunistic. Government does not have a single focus or priority. There are multiple priority areas. This morning we had a much more sensible discussion than this kind of posturing that Honorable Pozzoli is engaging in this afternoon in the House. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Honorable
Point of
Barton.
order, Deputy Speaker.
Yes, sir.
Point of order.
Yes.
Deputy Speaker, I'm troubled. The question that was directed to Minister Nzimande, whereby my name is being mentioned, which also happened yesterday on another issue, I don't understand it, because it's about me but talking to other issues. Honorable Maynir raised this issue. It is said that I bought a car for 1.2 million. I don't have such a car, Deputy Speaker. I don't know what they are talking about. I never bought any car for 1.2. Even when I was speaking, Maynir kept on doing.
Deputy Speaker.
What is that?
Deputy Speaker, on a point of order. The Honourable Minister does not have the latitude to get up and make speeches in defence. We had a ruling yesterday in the House that these issues are matters of debate. They're not points of order. The Minister can't be allowed to do that, otherwise every one of us, every time someone disagrees, we're going to get up and say that. That's not a point of order, and I'd like you to rule whether that is a point of order or not.
Honorable members.
On a point of order. Point of order.
What's the point of order? Yes.
Point of order. There's a lie that was told to this House about the House of Deputy Minister that was being renovated. And the agreement in this House that that matter must be taken to the Ethics Committee because it's misleading the nation, it's misleading the House. Even this one,
On a point of order,
a
Deputy
lie must be
Speaker.
taken to the committee. A lie is a lie. It doesn't matter who tells it. It's a lie.
Honorable members.
On a point.
Yes, Honorable Carter.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, I would really say that the chief whip of a majority party is out of order. But as he is, if you want to accept this, I will bring you the proof that it is in fact in the media and reported by the departments, which I would have put in a statement tomorrow, that money of 15 million rand and 10 million rand was spent on renovating houses. I'll bring you the proof, I'll bring you the evidence, it's in the meeting, and it was also answered by the department. So we want an apology and withdrawal and stop using the ethics committee for ministers and staff to shield and hide behind.
Yes, Honorable Nkosi.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. I suspect that the mistake is not Honorable Aaron in terms of 1.2 million. I suspect it's the car that was bought for Honorable High Minister of Education, Honorable Blade Nzimande, because he's well known for liking very lucrative cars. I mean, it is communist dream generally.
Honorable members, we have ruled before that let's stick with the rules. Let's stick with communicating.
On a point of order.
What's the point of order now, Honorable Member?
Now, I thought that you're going to make the ruling yourself without anyone calling it order, because when the chief whip of the ANC was speaking, he kept on saying it's a lie, and every time we mention the word lie here, you instruct us to withdraw that word. And you say we must choose different words to say that people are lying, well, like they normally do. So may you please instruct
Honorable
the chief whip
Chivambo.
of the ANC to withdraw the word, because you
Okay.
have done so with us
Honorable,
on many occasions.
Honorable,
So may you please do that
Honorable Chivambo.
so that we're able to proceed. Or when we speak and want to reflect the fact that they are lying, we'll consistently use that word consistent with what
You see,
Stone
Honorable,
has done. Sure.
Honorable Chivambo, in the first place, you are very presumptuous. You rise, you interrupt me in the middle of my speaking, and you already give me instructions. No, but I was speaking here when you interrupted me. You can't instruct me. Honorable Member, it is personal because you are out of order in the first place. Honorable members, in any case, it is incorrect for us to use the point of order in an abusive manner by raising political statements when you know you are not raising a political point of order. You are in fact making a political statement and you know that it is incorrect. We have said that before, and that is incorrect. Honorable Chief Whip, using a word that you have used about a member who spoke here, you know it's incorrect. About a member lying. You know you can't say that. No, take order.
I withdraw.
Thank you, Honorable. Thank you, Honorable Chief Whip. Honorable members, this is out of order. That we advise you every time that members have an opportunity to make their political statements. In spaces and opportunities created for that and time allocated for that. When a point of order is used for that, it becomes meaningless. So please, let's not do that. I really want to stress that. Honorable Mbata, it's your turn.
Point of order, Deputy Speaker.
Yes.
I am assuming that you are passing the point. I gladly withdrew use of the word, but the main thrust of what I was talking about has not been dealt with.
The reference?
They claim that Honorable Minister of Health has bought a 1.2 million rand car.
Yes.
And I'm saying I withdraw the word lie.
Yes.
But the substantive issue that claim is misleading, is wrong, and therefore must be withdrawn, has not been dealt with.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, can I start?
Honorable members, just hold on, honorable member. The honorable member who spoke about, Honorable Carter spoke about another matter altogether. Yes, it's a very different matter.
Point of order.
Yes, Honorable Zoli.
The 1.2 million, I think it was, appears in the adjusted budgets documents that were submitted to Parliament last week. Thank you.
Yes. Honorable members, I'm going to request the table to work on this one for the presiding officer so that we return to the House with a ruling. Yes.
Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Yes.
No, I don't think we must be confused. Often when points like this are made, the presiding officer must refer it, that it must return to the House as a substantial motion. Either you say that to the Honorable Bozoli or to the Honorable Chief Whip. That's how we deal with this matter. You can't just say someone is misleading the House. We don't know what you base it on or what the other claim is based on. So there's nothing that the staff table must do. You must be consistent. Either them or her must come back with a substantial motion and we move on. If somebody bought 1.2 million rand car with the people's money, they must fall.
Deputy Speaker.
Yes.
May I address you in terms of Rule 44? if I
Yes,
may?
what's your point of
Members of this House have freedom of expression in the House and may make statements and not be subject to the type of inquisition that they are now. However, I would, and they have immunity from prosecution. However, I've got the Minister's budget in front of me, and it says vehicles for the Minister and Deputy Minister in line with the Ministerial Handbook under machinery and equipment in your budget, 1,249 million. Suggest you go and have a look at your budget, Minister.
Honorable Singh.
Order, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker,
Yes.
I never queried any budgets or that. All I said is I never bought any car for 1.2 million rand. I don't have it. There's no car for 1.2 million rand in my department. He is talking about the budget. I don't know which budget he's talking about, but I'm talking about a car for 1.2 million. It's not there, and I want you to go and
Honorable,
check.
and Honorable
Deputy
Pandu.
Speaker, I
Yes.
rise on a point of order, sir.
Yes, what's your point of order?
The issue before us was a question to the Minister of Higher Education and Training.
Yes.
Now we seem to be allowing a debate within the debate on another matter.
Yeah.
If there is another matter and any member has got any problem with any other minister, put in a substantive question or put in a motion and we can debate that. I think we are eating into question time, which is very limited, and I think you should order that we proceed.
Yes. Honorable Pandu.
Deputy Speaker, much as it pains me, I have to agree with Honorable Ndlozi and Honorable Singh. They are correct that a substantive motion should have been brought. This matter of Minister Motsoaledi, whether or not it's in the adjustments budget, was sneaked in and directly referred to him as though some form of misdemeanor had been committed. That must come by way of a substantive motion, and you need to assist us on that matter.
Deputy Speaker.
Yes, what is that, Honorable Member?
We are not allowed to bring substantive motions on a budget item. It's in the budget. We can't, what kind of substantive motion can you bring on a budget line item? That would make a mockery of the system.
Honorable members, Honorable Deputy Minister, what are you raising on?
On the same point, Honorable Deputy Speaker, and I also agree with the Honorable Member from the EFF in relation to the substantive motions. The substantive motion is brought in when you basically impugning something against character of a person. So whether it is in the context of a budget, whether it's as a statement in Parliament, or in any other context, as long as you impute something negative on the character of another person, you are obliged in terms of the rules to bring it through a substantive motion. And therefore, I ask the Honourable Deputy Speaker to rule on this matter.
Honorable members, that's a correct interpretation of the rule. We will come back to it, as I indicated. We will come back to it. Honorable Mbata, we will now proceed with the question, yes.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. My question to our yellow communist here. Minister, this morning you said the qualifying definition for a family/household to qualify for NSFAS is 120,000 rands and per year. My question is, knowing the state of South Africans, that it has been growing poorly, in particular around the families that could not actually reach either 150 or 130, do you still think this definition is appropriate to access higher education for a poor family? And lastly, when will South Africans see a fee-free higher education?
Sayela somlomo asingasukelani nale ndoda shana. Niyabona uma ngisukela khona la ngizokuyisa khona nawe. Ngoba siphuma ndawonye
On a point of order.
emhlathe yazana.
On a point of order.
What's the point of order?
Honorable Deputy Speaker,
Yeah.
I expect Brablade Nzimande to know
Honorable
that he
member.
cannot address honorable members directly, even threaten them that you know where we will meet. He must address the House or address honorable members through you. So please call him to order because it's not allowed. Please, he must withdraw the threat of saying we know where we will meet, because you always make us withdraw such things as well. Please allow Brablade Nzimande before he goes on to withdraw. Thank you very much.
Honorable member, withdraw saying Brablade. Is Honorable member Nzimande.
Respectfully, with all the respect I can muster, the rules say all I need to do is not call him by a name. And where I come from, if I say bra, I respect you.
Honorable member.
I promise you. That's what the rules say.
Honorable member.
This is Brablade Nzimande.
Honorable member, just behave.
I'm behaving.
Honorable Nzimande.
If you have a problem, I'll...
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I did not threaten anyone. That's why he's sitting down and keeping quiet. I did address this matter that we've sat with this 122,000 rands means test on NSFAS for a very long time. And we are reviewing it because indeed we do have a challenge that someone who earns 180,000 or a student who comes from a family income of 180,000 per annum or even 200,000 can't afford university. That's a fact. And we said we are reviewing that. But also we warned that reviewing that in the end will have to be a collective decision of government led by the Minister of Finance, because it's got financial implications. If you shift the means test, you make it higher income, family income, it's going to have implications. But within the context of the pressures that we experience, we have undertaken a review. On when we are going to have, let's correct this, is not free higher education for everyone. It's free higher education for the poor, at least until the attainment of a first tertiary qualification. Don't start and twist it now. The president has already announced, in response to the students' protest in particular, but more importantly, in line with our own ANC government's commitment to free higher education for the poor, he is considering appointing a commission to answer into all those particular questions. Because the issue of free higher education for the poor is an ANC position and has always been an ANC position. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
On point of order.
Honorable, please, this is a question, supplementary question and so on.
But I can call order. It's allowed in terms
What
of
is your point of order? I'm just reminding you, Honorable.
The minister, in his response, he says that our member of parliament, Honorable Mbata, is twisting something. We're not twisting anything. It's an ideological commitment of the EFF.
No, you
that
see, Honorable,
it must be free education.
this is not a
for
point
all.
of order.
If
This
your policy is free education for the poor, you must
see
just
what you are
answer
doing.
like that. Don't impose on us your policy perspective.
You see what you're doing
We're
now,
calling for
Honorable
free
Member.
education for all, and that is what we stand on. So you must not say what twist. We're not twisting anything. We're articulating a way forward in terms of what should happen. in South
Honorable
Africa.
Shivambo, you are deliberately defying a request not to do that. And it's wrong. And we are not going to say this again. Honorable Kasim.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Honourable Minister, you have just admitted that you will be taking money earmarked for quality at historically disadvantaged institutions to make up the shortfall in the current financial year. And every single time you are asked around the question of the underfunding of institutions and of the department, you grandstand and say that you always go and ask for more money. Yet this morning, your CFO says that you are not going to be asking for money in the adjustment process. There is currently adjustment process taking place. You are not asking for anything in the current financial year to be adjusted for the shortfall. You are taking money away from quality in historically disadvantaged institutions. Why is that the case? And why do you keep grandstanding and saying that you're asking for money when that's not the case?
Honorable Ma'am, now ungasho ukuthi ngiyadelela siyazana nawe ngakhula ngithenge esitolo kaKhasim kaDambuza. Ngiyabazi oKhasim. We are not going to be taking money from the HDIs. We said it's a 5-year process. We will use that money to cushion them for the next 4 months. But in the outer years, we will make sure that the HDIs do not lose that money. That is our commitment. That is my commitment to the process. Because we will have to find money to deal with this. We're talking about the next 4 months. Because even your richer universities will borrow against their own reserves. That money, they will bring it back when the money comes back to them. You wait until we conclude the process. We will tell you where the money will come from. Thank you very much.
Honorable Mkhunu.
Thank you, Chairperson. Sibonge kakhulu Minister ngemizamo kahulumeni oholwa yi-ANC yokwenza imfundo ifinyelele kubo bonke abafundi njengokusho kwe-Freedom Charter. Umbuzo wami wokuqala, what monitoring mechanism will be put in place to ensure that the government gets value for money invested in the students? Secondly, I would like to know whether the minister will engage the relevant minister on the National Credit Act to find a better way to enable NSFAS to recover loans from previous beneficiaries, which will go a long way in increasing the scheme's revenue without begging them to sign consent. I thank you.
Deputy Speaker, before the Honorable Minister.
Yes.
I want to appeal. Can we not allow that comrade the Honorable Boroto who's waiting to preside? I beg you, speak. We'll even give you more salary. I don't know. She always disorganizes the house. I appeal. Boroto needs to fall. Honorable Boroto can preside. This is an important session. We really need peace and tranquility in the house. I request.
Honorable Member.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, just go on doing your job. We elected you, we did not elect her, or did we elect her? I don't remember. I appeal to you. Please, not today.
Take your seat, Honorable Member.
Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Yes. No.
Honorable Boroto is fit to preside in this house. She's the House chairperson. So she's fit to preside, and that is what she's going to do now. The last question.
Can I allow the minister to respond?
Thank you very much, House Chair. Siyabonga ngombuzo oqhamukela ungene elihloniphekile lwakamchunu. The first thing is that we have agreed with the university community that we will have to look very closely at the cost drivers of higher education, as well as develop mechanisms for reprioritization, tighter budgeting, and focusing on the main business of our universities in order to ensure value for money. In fact, one of the issues raised by the current student protests require that institutions themselves look very closely at how they use their money in order to ensure that we derive. Part of the transformation program must focus on this, even the fact that the money we give to universities, how is it being used to advance an agenda for transformation? I assume that the second question that the Honorable Member Mkhunu was asking relates to collection of money recovery by NSFAS. The new chairperson of NSFAS, Mr. Ngasane, I have asked him in particular that he needs to prioritize this issue. And amongst other things, we will work with the South African Revenue Service in discussion with the Minister of Finance to actually identify those who benefited from NSFAS who are supposed to be paying back. In that, it is within that context also that we will look at the National Credit Act to ensure that, first of all, we are in line with that act, and also look at where that particular act could, in an unintended way, be hindering us from collecting monies that are owed by NSFAS beneficiaries. Siyabonga.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. That is the end of the supplementary questions to question 541. We now proceed to question 533, as asked by Honorable Tlunani to the Minister of Sports and Recreation. Honorable Minister, 533.
Thank you very much. The remedies and the mechanisms for enforcement of the agreements are already available within the current legal framework. There are, amongst others, include the following: funding, awarding of national colors, deregistration of sport body, prohibition of bidding and hosting of major events, political support, and premium for sponsorship endorsement. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Zulani.
Enkosi mhlali ngaphambili mandibulele mhlonipheki ngempendulo yakho ecace okwekati ehlungwini. Mhlonipheki uyaneliseka na ngenkqubela phambili eyenzekileyo kwi-eminent person group persons?
Sibonge Mama, Honorable Minister.
We are very happy with the progress Eminent Persons Group have made, because Eminent Persons Group body derive its mandate from the National Sports Plan and the mandate of the National Sports Indaba, which was held 7 years ago. And the work that they've done to date include evaluation and monitoring of federations on all the issues that I've actually mentioned, but over and above that, to do an annual evaluation of the barometer for all the federations when it comes to transformation.
Thank you, Minister. Second on the supplementary questions is Honorable Sitole, IFP.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Minister, a great deal of wasteful expenditure originated especially from comrade contractors. No, I'm sorry. Honorable Minister, how does your department measure the success or otherwise of holistic transformation of sport in South Africa? Would you be of the opinion that such transformation is moving quickly enough? If so, why? If not, why not? Kindly provide full details. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Yeah, no, my department doesn't have wasteful expenditure. That's why we've got a clean audit. So we don't have corruption, we don't have anything of those. And clean audit is an unqualified report without matters of emphasis. That's what it means. Secondly, on the question that you have mentioned, I wouldn't say that they've moved entirely in terms of transformation. We have federations that have not transformed. And there's a whole lot of factors that we have looked at that have come through the report of the EPG. And that includes the lack of development, an integrated approach to sports development and elite sports in the Republic. And in the past 5 years, through the adoption of the National Sports Plan, which has been costed, we know that South Africa in the next 10 years, in the context of the National Development Plan, will be a different country altogether. We judge ourselves with first world standards when we're in the third world. But we know that in the next 10 years, we'll compete better with the likes of Kenya. But in the next 10 years, we'll be next door to Australia, England, and the first world. If we do all the things that we said we must do in the National Sports Plan that include infrastructure development, developing community sport, ensure that school sport is rolled out in all our schools, and it is interlinked to our vision of developing talent and ensuring that we are able to reap the fruits out of that particular process. Not just development for the sake of it and so on. So I wouldn't say to you today that I'm over the moon about transformation, but I can tell you one thing, that we've got a very comprehensive approach to transformation. Like I said in the answer, those who fail to transform based on the agreements that I've signed from May 2015, and that include rugby, cricket, football, netball, and athletics, in the next year or 5 years to come, failure for them to meet our agreement in terms of transformation, there will be consequences for that.
Thank you very much. The next is Honorable Malatsi.
Thanks, Chairperson. Minister, I'm glad you mentioned infrastructural development and community development, because one of the most meaningful ways of driving transformation is investment in sports facilities at community level and in schools. However, the majority of municipalities and provincial government, mostly under the ANC, are not spending allocated funds for sports facilities. And one such glaring example is the Mpumalanga province, led by the Premier League, Dr. D. Mabuza, who's on record saying that his provincial government won't be spending any cent on sport facilities because they'll redirect it to water and sanitation. So what measures are you putting in place to ensure that your fellow comrades in provincial governments spend monies for sports facilities so that we can enhance participation in sport and allow young people to participate in various sporting codes in their own communities and in their schools? Thank you, Chair.
Minister?
Yes, I think we have made progress with regard to building a case for sport in South Africa. You will know, even in the Western Cape, which is, by the way, not your government. You only won it temporarily by vote, but it's not your government. We will clinch that government back very soon. But I'm not here to politic, because you know, Malachi, Honorable Malachi, that the Western Cape government is equally faced with the challenges that all other provinces are faced with regard to infrastructure development of sport. And the most important thing with regard to the question that you are raising, we have made a case to the point that government and the executive agree on the question of dealing with infrastructure and allocation of sports, a percentage of the MIG grant. Because local government is faced with a number of challenges. And that money, most of the time, is taken by those challenges that are faced by different communities. And our government have recognized that there is a need to reallocate that money back to sports in our endeavor to redefine the model for funding for sport. And I'm confident in the next coming financial year, you are going to see a massive rollout of sport infrastructure from the municipal infrastructure grant. That includes the Western Cape and all the provinces throughout the country. One of the challenges that we're faced with is that provinces, from their own financial setup, do not allocate money for sport. And we have called for that to actually happen. It's only Gauteng that does that. And we need to ensure that in all provinces that include the Western Cape, do allocate money sufficiently in their own budget for sports development in their different provinces. But if I were to politic and do all the other things, we'll miss the point. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The last is Honorable Dlamini.
Thank you, Minister. Yesterday on a Metro Sports show, you said you will not concern yourself about the transformation of rugby in this country. And secondly, you said SARU is doing a great job in terms of transforming rugby in this country. But what we saw during the World Cup, we were on the field. Now, the question to you is that, is it not your responsibility to see that the previously Lily White Sports codes are transformed in this country? Another thing, do you have deadlines in this transformation program of yours? But lastly, why is the ANC objecting to a bid of Tokyo Sekware for a FIFA presidency? Thank you.
Minister?
Well, I don't think the ANC has objected to the nomination of anybody for FIFA. Secondly, with regard to the question that you have asked.
On a point of order.
Honorable Minister, take your seat. Yes, Honorable Ndlozi.
Honorable Presiding Officer, the point of order is that it's on the Parliament record that the ANC in Parliament objected to Tokyo Sekwale's bid for FIFA presidency to assist the Minister to give us an intelligent answer. Thank you.
Unfortunately, that is a point of debate. It's not a point of order. Thank you. Continue, Honorable.
Yes, no. First and foremost, when it comes to Metro FM, in terms of yesterday's platform, all what that was said there is not truthful. I did not decline participation. I actually questioned the content of the debate because the discussion was going to be about performance. And performance means the technique and whether or not the coach employed the right strategy and tactics to win the World Cup for us. And there were experts and analysts to do that. And secondly, in terms of the statutes that govern us and including our own sport law in South Africa, it doesn't allow minister to run South African Rugby Union. That will be equated to interference. And that will equally lead to the banning of our own federation in international participation. What the minister has done is to put a policy for implementation before SARU, which is not negotiable, of transformation. And that is what is important. I'm ready anytime to go to the studio, speak to Robert Marawa or whoever, and clarify the issues before the nation in terms of the concerns which are genuine about transformation and the fact that we need to speed up transformation that include in rugby in South Africa. Of course, there are South Africans who are experts when it comes to rugby and have raised their dissatisfaction with regard to the coach. I put that question before Saru to answer that question. When they decide to hire the coach or to fire the coach, it is their responsibility not to write open letters, but to face the nation and stand up to the decisions that they take to maintain or to fire the coach, not the Minister of Sports. What I want from them is transformation. And I knew very well that in this World Cup, having signed an agreement with Saru from May 2015, that this squad of the Springboks to the World Cup would have not reached 50% of the demographic set in my targets with them. And that is going to happen in terms of our own agreement in the next 5 years. Next Rugby World Cup, next Rugby World Cup. Next Rugby World Cup, which will take place in 2019, I expect that rudimentarily, upward, and so on organically, the Springbok team should have actually, we should not be debating transformation in that team.
Thank you very much.
And that is what I'm about and what we are pursuing. Thank you.
Thank you. We're done with question 533. We now move to question 530, asked by Honorable Kwarai to Minister of Human Settlement. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. I will not going to answer the howlers. My business is not for howling. The reply is as follows, Chairperson.
Order, honorable members.
House Chair, order.
Honorable Deputy Minister, please take your seat. Honorable Hlophe.
Chair, the Deputy Minister is calling the members of this Parliament howlers. Can he clarify who are the howlers here?
Thank you very much, honorable member.
And she must withdraw that. She must respect us.
Honorable Hlophe, Honorable Minister did not specify who the howlers are. That's why I did not even want to entertain that. Honorable Minister, let us refrain from using such words. Can you please continue? Order, please.
The National Housing Program provides that payments for housing goods and services be delivered as specified and required in terms of the provision of the development or construction agreement concluded with service providers. That it may only be instituted upon certification that the service has been delivered and that the value for money has been achieved, which means we pay contractors on the basis of what they've done in terms of building. We don't pay before the product is produced. Due to the problems being experienced with contractors who deliver shoddy workmanship and fail to comply with their contractual obligations, MINMEC approved the strategy for action against defaulting contractors of government-subsidized housing projects in 2012 to confirm action required to be taken against building contractors involved in housing projects. This strategy determines that a contractor may only be appointed to implement housing subsidized project if the contractor is registered with NHBRC. It is the responsibility of the provinces and municipalities acting as developers for the projects to report all defaulting contractors to NHBRC. When non-compliance is detected, contractors who default on contractual obligations or who deliver quality housing or who do not adhere to NHBRC norms and standards will be subject to the provisions of Section 11 of the Housing Consumer Protection Measures Act of 1988 and be disciplined accordingly. If the contractor have not met terms and conditions of their contracts, these defaulting contractors can be deregistered in terms of the same act and will be prevented to register any new company with NHBRC. The relevant provinces and municipalities that entered into contract with those contractors they are obliged to report these contractors for their non-compliance, and they must make sure that they follow due process in ensuring that they recover any cost of financial loss incurred due to non-compliance of the contractor once the contract agreement is terminated. And the names of the companies of these contractors must be provided to NHBRC for investigation further. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Honorable Kwarai. Yes,
Kwarai.
Kwarai.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Deputy Minister, seeing that there are a number of contractors that have been defaulting in terms of this contract, can the Honorable Minister take us on board with this, with the list of those contracts? And if the Minister can tell us which are these contractors so that we can name and shame, if it's possible. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Member, for that question. We do have a database of these defaulting contractors. We can furnish the member. If they contact us at the department, we will furnish with you, and also at what stages of investigation we are with them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now proceed. The next to ask the supplementary question, Honorable Sitole, IFP.
Siyabonga Sihlalo. Honorable Deputy Minister, a great deal of wasteful expenditure originates especially from comrade contractors who receive building tenders from this department, which results in a re-ratification of houses. How does the department intend preventing such comrade contractors from getting tender going forward, which they are clearly unable to perform and deliver on?
Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. What we know that we don't have comrade contractors in human settlements. What we do is to look in terms of the contractor able to perform the job. You must remember, when the selection is being made, it's public. And there are reasons why a particular contractor has been appointed, because we look in terms of the price and the ability of the contractor to give us quality houses. You remember, we are no longer building RTP houses. We are building, breaking new ground houses, which means the houses that we build are the houses of good quality. Definitely, we cannot build those quality housing if we just grouping comrades to build houses. We take quality contractors who are giving us value for money, because that's what government wants. Thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Next is Honorable Makause.
Thank you, House Chair. Firstly, the Deputy Minister must not mislead us. We all know that in the Free State, Mahashule of the Free State pays comrades even before the project starts. But today you come here and respond and say that you are paying after the completion of the project. It's not true. Coming to my question, Honorable House Chair, sit down, because I'm going to speak to, and I'm speaking to people of Alexandra. Mo lekwalong la kgololesego le puso ya ga jaana ya African National Congress e ipelang ka lone e re ke lone le leng gore le ba eteletse pele le re le bitsang re re ke Freedom Charter la re baagi botlhe ba Afrika Borwa ba tla bona matlo a e leng gore a siametse bodulo. Mme re bone mo nakong e fetileng baagi ba Alexandra ba abelwa mekhukhu a ke yone matlo. Re kopa gore lo tlhalosetse ntlo e le Afrika Borwa gore aha mmuso wa African National Congress o palelwa ke go isa ditirelo. A go mo molaong gore ba fe baagi mekhukhu.
Before fetola ke a leboga mme ke kopa gore re gopotsane gore ke batla dipotso tsa lena di arabiwe empa a re sticken to nako ya rona ya 1 minute. Le ba ba answerang a re sticken to 2 minutes. It's important, these questions are important. I allowed extra a few seconds. Please, let's work together.
Yes, I just want to start from what the member spoke about, how houses how do we pay contractors, because she's misleading the House. The contractors are paid as follows. First, they do the foundation. We go and inspect the foundation, then they get paid. Then we go to the wall plate, the wall. Then we send inspector to check if the wall is correct. Then they get paid. Then we go to the roof. If the roof is finished, contractors that are here, they know.
On a point of order, House Chair.
No.
I don't think you heard what I said.
Honorable member, what is your point of order?
I don't think the honorable minister heard what I said. I said Ace Mahashule is paying the comrade contractors in the Free State, even before the completion of the project.
Honorable members, I think the honorable minister is answering on how the department pays. Honorable minister, continue.
Thank you. And that is why we are saying if there's a problem within the supply chain management, that those things are not done. That's what we are investigating and following up. But that's supposed to be the routine, how we pay. And then when we go to the issue of Alexander.
Chair, rise on a point of order.
Yes, Honorable Matthias. Honorable Deputy Minister,
Look,
could you?
the issue of the Operation Hlasela in the Free State, it's been investigated now by the Public Protector. And if the member is clueless about the progress and extent of the damage that Operation Hlasela is causing the Free State, she must just be honorable.
Honorable member,
she must just be honorable and not give any answer.
Please
because
sit
it
down.
appears that the question is too difficult for her.
Please sit. I think we are not discussing that here. He's answering to the original question and the supplementary question. You still have your 1 minute, 6 seconds, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Yes, Chairperson, I want to tell the House that I've been in Free State myself, and I've witnessed quality houses in Free State that I've handed over myself and the president. So I don't know what these people are talking about. When we come to the issue of Alexander, in Alexander, we have houses that are built by us. I witnessed that. We don't deliver mikukus to the people. That's not part of what we do. I think.
On the point of order, House Chair.
Honorable, yes?
I was in Straight last week, Tuesday.
Thank you very much.
Government is distributing shacks in Alexander.
Okay.
It's a matter of fact, we can show you pictures. Government is distributing
Please
shacks
sit
in
down.
Alexander. I was
Thank
asking
you.
a question if it's such a government
Can
policy because they've been
No, now you are in
distributing
a
shacks in Alexander
debate.
and
Now
Straight.
you are in a debate. We don't want that.
Yeah, but the minister must not mislead us.
Please sit. Honorable members, if you are dissatisfied with the answers that the Deputy Minister is giving, you know the processes of this parliament. Nobody will bar you from doing what you are supposed to do if you think that what has been said here doesn't satisfy the answer that you wanted. Honorable Makause?
Chair, may I address you?
With pleasure.
It's very unfortunate that such howlers get to be elected in strategic positions like this.
I'm not going to allow you.
They come to this house and not respond to the issues raised in this house.
Every mic is off now. But can I rise on a point of order?
Honorable Chiwani, we are not in a debate. What is your point of order?
No, I need to rise on a point of order.
Yes, honorable member, what's your point of order?
You agreed that the honorable member could address you. But the next thing you switch off the mic.
No.
And it looks like it's only when you preside. No,
Can you please sit down?
No, I'm not going to take that.
Could you please sit
I'm
down?
not going to take that instruction. I won't take that instruction. I would not accept that instruction.
Okay.
It's only in your time when you preside that mics just get switched off like that. Why do you abuse us like that? Why do you agree to be addressed and switch off a mic? Why do you do that? Is it part of the rules? Was it agreed in this house that
Are you
we
done?
must just switch off mics?
Can you please be done?
No, but why do you switch off mics? Why do you switch off mics? Is it part of the rules? Why do you abuse us like that? Can we get a new chair there, please? No, but she's abusing us, this woman.
I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it for the last time. Honorable members, when you rise on a point of order, let it be a point of order. It must not be another debate that is against what is being said or something else. That I will not allow, because I understand what the point of order is. And I gave you the liberty to say, if you are not satisfied with the answers given, obviously you know what to do, and you are allowed to do that. But forcing me to allow you to make a point of debate in the pretext of a point of order, unfortunately, I cannot allow that. It's a waste of our time. Honorable Jomani at the back.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, has a supplementary question to the Deputy Minister.
Honorable Jomani, may I explain something?
Yeah.
We have a list here.
Okay, no, I understand.
Yes.
But it's a matter of great urgency.
No.
It's a matter of great
It doesn't
urgency.
work like that.
It's a matter of great urgency, Madam Chair.
No. I can agree with you that you can talk to the minister after this process. Okay. You can. She's at liberty to talk to you.
Okay, fine.
Thank you very much. Honorable Shibambo.
House Chair.
Hello, Honorable Shibambo.
On order. Earlier in the House, the Chief Whip of the ANC stood up to say that a member must be referred to an ethics committee for misrepresenting truth. He called it a lie, which later on withdrew. Now, we point to the fact here in Parliament that there are shacks in Alexander that are being built by government.
We're not going
I'm
back
taking
there.
You through.
No.
I'm taking you through.
Yes, I'm going to switch off the mic if you don't sit down.
She says
I'm going to switch off the mic.
Can I raise the point of order? I'm giving context first.
No, I don't want the context or any preambles. I want your point of order. And if it is about...
Learn to listen first.
No, you listen.
Later. You must listen first. There are shacks in Alexander which are built by government. Obed Bapela comes from Alexander, has just confirmed that now to the Deputy Minister. How do you chair? The disaster the ANC brings us in this parliament is not bearable. Is this what we are subjected to, mediocrity like this?
Honorable members, we proceed. The next is Honorable Kada. I'm sorry if I pronounce your surname incorrectly. Honorable Dlamini, what is it?
I raise my hand on a point of order.
What is your point of order?
Can you please treat us fairly and do your job properly?
Honorable member, just stick to the procedures and the rules of the House. You will get your attention. Just
got the
stick to
capacity
that.
to lose patience like you. Don't do that.
Thank you. Honorable Kata.
Thank you. Thank you, House Chair. Can you hear me?
Honorable Kata. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, House Chair. And my question to the Deputy Minister, pity that the Minister is not here to answer to this one. Deputy Minister, last year the Minister indicated in a parliamentary reply that since 2009, the Special Investigative Unit...
On point of order. When the session was interrupted with the point of order, the Deputy Minister was in the middle. She has actually just started to answer the question of shacks in Alexander. And she had not yet completed. We want to listen to the response of why is government distributing shacks in Alexander? Can we get the response to that?
Yeah.
Honorable members, we are now on
But
Ms.
why did you turn
Carter.
your microphone so you're not talking to
Honorable
me?
Deputy Minister had already answered and she
She
had
has not
finished.
answered the question.
Unfortunately, you want her to answer the way you want her to
She
answer.
did not answer the question. Ask
Honorable
her.
Carter, I know.
Ask her again. She has not answered the question.
She had. She had. If you listened and were not disruptive, you would have heard her.
Just
Thank you
ask
very
her.
much. I am done with that follow-up question by Honorable Mokause.
we're
I'm
questioning
now
about you.
on Honorable Carter. Thank you. Honorable, please. We are sorry for that. Can you restart the minutes of Honorable
Okay.
Carter, please?
Okay, thank you, House Chair. Deputy Minister, last year the Minister indicated in a parliamentary reply that since September 2009, the Special Investigative Unit had investigated 59 contracts or projects to the value of 20 billion rands, following allegations of fraud and corruption with regards to the delivery of RDP houses. From the Special Investigative Unit reports delivered to your department, can you indicate how much of the 20 billion rand has been recovered to date and how many people, including government officials, have been successfully prosecuted? Thank you very much, Minister.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much.
Point of order,
Thank
Chair.
you very much, Honorable.
Point of order, Chair. Point of order, Chair.
Honorable Mbacha, what is
Yeah.
your point of order?
Chair, I would like you to send your eyes to the corner there.
Which corner?
Honorable Carter and Honorable Hadebe are having it all.
What are you talking about, Honorable
They are
Member?
about to fight while we proceed with the House.
Okay,
So I'm asking you to notice incidences of people who are standing and those who are talking loud so that the House is in order.
Thank you, Honorable Mbacha.
I'm helping you, you must thank me.
What am I doing? Honorable Carter, are you standing on a, thank you, Honorable Mbacha. Are you standing on a point of order?
Yeah, thank you. You know, I've been trying to stand up for a while, Chairperson, but you know,
Okay.
unfortunately, we do not get recognized. But Chairperson, I've said it before, and I'm saying it again, okay? And Honorable Mbata is correct. We can only take so much tempting from Castle Corner. So if they want us to come outside, I'm prepared to go outside. Let them come.
I'm going to ask the Honorable Chief Whip of the majority party to please attend to the matter. Honorable Chief Whips, please attend to the matter, please, and allow us to continue. Thank you. Honorable Deputy Minister, order, honorable members, order.
Thank you, House Chair. I want to
Honorable members, please.
I want to thank the member for that follow-up question, but as you can hear, that follow-up question is too involved, needs a detail. I don't have that information with me. We can furnish that information to you, Honorable Member Gada. We don't have it as yet. We'll find out what's going on.
Thank you.
Chairperson,
Honorable Waters.
may I address you? Thank you. Chairperson, the question is quite clear. It says what steps have been taken by her department to ensure that wasteful expenditure emanating from contractors not availing themselves to finish off the projects from which they have already been paid has been repaid.
Honorable-
That is the original question. The question from the honourable member from the DA was with regards to 20 billion rand of fraud. How much has been recovered? It's a simple question.
Honorable
which relates
Waters.
to the original question.
Please sit. I hope we don't have advocates for other members in this room. But what I can say is that she has answered and said she doesn't have the records now. So what do you expect her to do? She can't come here and thumbsuck answers, please. Please.
Chairperson, I agree. She mustn't. The Honourable Deputy Minister must not thumbsuck.
Yes.
But what it indicates is the fact that when a minister is not in the House to answer their questions, the deputy ministers cannot do their job. They are lacking. And that is why the ministers need to be in the House.
Thank you
when
very
it's
much.
their
We
turn to
proceed.
answer oral questions.
We proceed. I think that is something that you can write on a substantive motion to say that. Honorable Ndlozi.
You know, presiding officer, it's not about the different political parties and the differences ideologically that we hold. Ministers have an obligation to come to the House to be accountable. We ask questions. And we warned at the beginning of the session about the absence of ministers. And we conceded when we were told to concede. We ask questions. The deputy minister has the audacity to stand and say, I don't have an answer. And your response when we request you to recognize that and hit her hard, you are protecting her. There are checks being distributed by government
Thank
in
you very
Alexander.
much. Now
She
you're
doesn't
taking an
know.
opportunity to say something that
No,
is
I'm
different.
not. Can you switch on
No,
my
no, no,
mind?
no, no, no. I'm not going to allow that far. Yes. Please sit.
But
please sit.
Can I finish?
And no, you are now talking about the checks and everything.
I want to finish.
No.
One sentence.
We continue now to question 577, asked by Honorable Davis to the Minister of Basic Education. In our earlier discussions, we know the Honorable Deputy Minister will take the questions. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Thank you, Honorable Chair. The department has not undertaken any study to establish how, in general, activities of teacher unions, particularly the South African Democratic Teachers Union, help or hinder government in its objective of achieving quality education. However, the department has observed and appreciates that teacher unions, including SATU, operate within a set of rules that are agreed upon through collective agreements concluded in the ELRC, that is the Education Labor Relations Council, and the Public Service Coordinating Bargaining Council, as well as rules imposed by the Labor Relations Act and the Basic Conditions of Employment Act and the Employment Equity Act. These acts and collective agreements, together with the Code of Ethics that bind all professional bodies and persons, regulate the relationship between the employer and employees and their organizations. Collective Agreement 2 of 2007 provides for the appointment of full-time shop stewards in education to facilitate negotiations, dispute resolutions, and prevention, while the rest of the teachers ensure that teaching and learning occur in the classroom. Teacher unions, including the South African Democratic Teachers Unions, are strategic partners in ensuring improved educational outcomes. To give effect to this, the National Education Collaboration Trust was created as a partnership initiative by civil society aimed at strengthening cooperation among stakeholders, business, labor, and other civil organizations. The Department of...
Order, honorable members. Continue, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. The Department of Basic Education, all provincial education departments, and 5 teacher unions, including SATU, have signed a memorandum of agreement with an object to contribute to the achievement of targets as set out for the teacher professional development in the action plans and the integrated planning framework for teacher development. Through this collaboration, 85,000 teachers have been trained in various teacher development programs. SATU in particular has conducted CAPS orientation to 19,589 teachers in Mpumalanga and KwaZulu-Natal, and a further 14,923 on foundation phase resource development programs in the following districts: Libode, Mopani, and Botlabela. SATU also concluded school management teams training for about 2,000 senior management teachers in the same districts, including areas in KwaZulu-Natal. In addition, Honorable Chairperson, the teacher unions and SATU in particular has been instrumental in contributing towards the success of the National Estate Fund, which involves more than 80,000 learners, and to which they contribute their time and energy free of charge. So we should not generalize.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. Your time is now expired. The Honourable Davis.
Thank you, Chairperson. The Deputy Minister is clearly out of touch with his department if he thinks that SATU is a strategic partner that will help the department achieve its objectives. A 2007 cross-national study found that just 38% of South African grade 6 maths teachers could answer a grade 6 maths question correctly. But we still don't have teacher competency tests because SATU doesn't want them. We have no way of standardizing and assuring the quality of matric markers, but we don't have marker competency tests because SATU doesn't want them. We have the highest rate of teacher absenteeism on the continent, but we don't have teacher performance contracts because SATU doesn't want them. Deputy Minister, there is a hostage drama playing itself out in our school system, with SATU holding our children to ransom. What concrete steps are you taking to put the rights of children ahead of the demands of SATU? Thank you.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. It's a very important question. Honourable Chairperson, when you do philosophy 1 and you do logic, the one fallacy that you avoid and you seek to avoid is one of hasty overgeneralization. While there are members within an organization that may cause disruption, that may tarnish the image of the profession, as a ministry and as a Department of Basic Education, we do not treat our unions and their representatives selectively. In other words, we believe that all educators have a particular professional responsibility to learners, and when there is a violation or a transgression, they must be dealt with. What the department has done is ensure that it fosters a harmonious relationship with teacher unions because they recognize that teachers form an important pillar for the provision of quality education. To this extent, we share with the teacher unions our action plans, our policies, our objectives, and our goals. And it is for that reason that all the teacher unions have subscribed to targets which we basically discuss with them in relation to literacy and numeracy and in relation to targets for achievement. With regard to assessment, it is not only a problem of SATU, it's a problem with all teacher unions who do not want to subject themselves to performance assessments. What the department has done, it has created non-intrusive instruments, and there are 94 of them available, by which teachers could privately test their ability and capacity in each subject across the grades. This indeed has been initiated and implemented, utilized not only by SATU, but by other teacher unions in relation to areas such as English, and we are busy with mathematics, science, and accountancy. We do believe that assessment is critical and necessary, and in the chamber itself, the Education Labor Relations Council, we are moving from the IQMS to the QMS, which embodies an element of quality management. I thank you, Honourable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. The next follow-up question is the Honourable Kubisa.
Thank you, Chairperson. Deputy Minister, another sketch that is dealing a devastating blow to quality education is the one of Job for Pulse. Just recently, there is a story that was much publicized, a story of a teacher in Durban who had to pay a SATU official some money in order for that teacher to be employed. At some point, the car of a teacher broke down, and then the teacher found himself out of the system. I understand that there is this Fulmic commission. How far has it progressed? And what is the department dealing with these issues of corruption? Because they are a scourge to quality education in our country. Thank you.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. I thank the Honourable Member for raising a very, very important issue. When it came to the attention of the department that indeed these activities are taking place, the Minister appointed a very important, credible, competent, and acceptable commission led by Professor Fulmic. It has in its composition 2 independent forensic auditors from Deloitte and Touche. It has a member from the Department of Justice so that we can ensure that prosecution occurs immediately. It has a member from the Public Service Commission, and it is entitled to draw to it expertise. It operates quite independently. This was gazetted in September last year. Honorable Chairperson, it has started its work. It is engaged with all invited complaints and has received a great deal of complaints. Forensic investigations have been carried out. More information has been and leads have been provided, and these are being followed up. And a term of 120 days was allocated. The chairperson sought an extension and sought further support, and the Department of Justice and Correctional Services has provided the Commission with 3 further investigators. Amongst its tasks is to identify the role of organizations, unions, or its branches in the provision and the procurement of jobs for PALs through resources, directly or indirectly. It is to examine the role of governing bodies or governing body associations in any act of corruption, whether it occurs directly or indirectly. It has to engage with all stakeholders, including governing body associations, in relation to this particular aspect. The Commission has been extremely busy with this particular task, has interviewed all stakeholders, including complainants, and has received a great deal of leads. The information that we have is that whilst the forensic report is now almost in its completion stages, a draft report is being prepared and should be tabled with the Minister before the end of the year. We do take the issue of corruption very, very seriously, and irrespective of
Thank
the
you,
union,
Honourable Deputy
President Bob,
Minister.
we will deal with the matter. Thank you.
The Honourable Nsimang.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Deputy Minister, I think it is common knowledge that members of SATU are putting the interest of the union before those of the learners. We may even cite the question of SATU strikes and SATU go-slows. These will happen on the eve of the examinations. Question is, have you engaged SATU, or are you prepared to engage SATU on these issues? Thank you.
Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. It's important, I think it's a critical element to ensure that there is no acrimonious or hostile relationship between the department, the ministry, and the teacher unions. We have committed ourselves and indeed do meet with the unions, and we've said for this year that we would meet quarterly. The newly appointed Director General has agreed and resolved with the General Secretaries or the CEOs of the various unions that he would meet monthly in order to ensure that you create peace and stability within the environment. Our National Senior Certificate examinations have indeed commenced, and notwithstanding the disputes with regard to the annual national assessments, the unions, all of them including SATU, have not done anything directly or indirectly to destabilize the examination. We do believe that that is because of a shared vision and commitment by all unions together with the department to ensure that we place at the center of what we do the best interest of the child and the provision of quality education. I thank you, Honourable Chairperson.
The Honourable Slope.
Thank you, House Chair. Deputy Minister, on the issue of job for cash, I remember very well, I specifically asked you, it was on the 19th of August 2015. You said the report will be out in 6 weeks. Today is November, and that 6 weeks has come and passed. And I even said to you, are you hiding the report because SATU is affiliated to COSATU, which COSATU is in alliance with your ANC, because you are deployed as a deployee. You don't want to deal with this issue, which is very, very, very critical to our people. Where is the report? We want a report, nothing else, no manga manga.
Honourable Deputy Minister.
No, thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. The Honourable Member is indeed correct. She was quite categorical in saying that she inquired about the report, and indeed a commitment was given, and that was a commitment that was given to the Minister that by September a report would be tabled. The explanation and the request for an extension came from the Chair on the basis that they have received new leads with regard to this particular matter. They have to investigate them because their task would be incomplete or inchoate, and therefore they would be able to submit the report by the end of this, before the end of this year. and we do believe and we do accept the commitment on the part of the chair. What we can assure you, and given the importance and the urgency of the matter, that we will again raise the matter with the chair to express our anxiety in relation to receiving the report so that we could table it and bring it to the attention of the general public as soon as possible. I thank you, Honourable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. Honourable members, the time allocated for questions has expired. Outstanding replies received will be printed in Hansard. Yes, Honourable Member, why are you rising?
No, Deputy Presiding Officer, House Chairperson, I want to request that in terms of the rules pertaining to questions to ministers, the provision of the rules envision a situation where indeed we get answers, either from a cabinet member or from a deputy minister. And therefore, the questions that were not answered today must be treated as questions that fall off and must come back to the House. Because we must exercise accountability. Can I speak, House Chair?
Honourable Member, yes, you've made your point. You must wind up now. Honourable members.
We asked, there are two questions that the deputy ministers literally said, we don't know. Government is distributing checks in Alex. Can that question come back? Why is government distributing checks to the people in Alex?
Honourable Member,
and the question that was raised in relation to
Honourable
the 20
Member, I
billion
get the gist of your input. That is a matter that you must take to the Rules Committee. It is not within the rules to do what you are requesting at the moment. I suggest that it must be taken up in the Rules Committee. As I have indicated, when question time expired, all outstanding replies will be sent to members in writing. And I think since the process of the review of the rules of the National Assembly is nearing its completion, that is a matter that should be dealt with there. We now come to motions without notice. Are there any motions without notice?
On the point of order, House Chair. Can I indulge me one more time? I'm going to read you the rule. The rule specifically says,
Honourable Member,
if a minister is absent on a day when questions relating to the relevant cluster are to be answered and those questions are not answered, blah, 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 in the end it says, if requested to do so by the member in whose name a question to the minister stands and after the consultation with the leader, then it must be postponed. Those questions were not answered.
Honourable Member, with due respect.
This is a conditional proposition, if.
Honourable Member, will you now take your seat? I've now given you a fair chance to put your point. You must also read Rule 109. That makes it very clear. Read the other subsections as well. That makes it very clear that the rules does allow for a deputy minister or even another minister to reply. And that was the understanding this morning in the Chief Whips Forum where we were. The matter was discussed there. And that is also how we dealt with it in terms of other questions. The questions have now been responded to. If there was an arrangement between the member asking the question and the relevant minister, consultation with the whips of parties that the question should stand over, then that could have been done, but the two questions have now been answered.
The last part, House Chair. By the way, these are not replies, it's answers. The ministers, the deputy minister is on record to say she does not have answers. It's not just a reply. She did not reply. Why are you not taking exception to the fact that we allowed a deputy minister an opportunity, having not had a minister?
Honourable Member, you have made your point.
So our questions must be answered.
Honourable Member, we will now proceed with notice of motion. The issue of the questions have now been dispensed of. Does any member wish to give notice of a motion? Honourable Member at the back.
Thank you, House Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the ANC that the House debates in its next sitting measures at curtailing the operation of the foreign organized crime syndicates in South Africa and in the region. I thank you.
The Honourable Mania.
Chairperson, I hereby give notice on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, this House debate provision for the purchase of, and I quote, vehicles for the Minister and Deputy Minister of Health at the cost of 1.25 million. The reasons the minister seems to be oblivious of the fact that his own adjusted budget provides for the purchase, and to determine in the light of this whether the minister read his adjusted budget before it was tabled in this parliament.
The Honourable Kwankwa.
Thank you, House Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that... I beg your pardon. Grant me atonement. I move on behalf of the United Democratic Movement that at its next sitting...
Order, honourable members. Honourable members. Honourable members. Let us give a chance to the honourable member to start from the beginning again.
Yes, I voluntarily withdraw that one. I hereby move on behalf of the
Order, honourable members.
On behalf of the United Democratic Movement, that at its next sitting, the House debates strategies on how to prevent the possible deaths of initiates over the summer season at initiation schools around the country, together with the role that all the relevant stakeholders, especially the traditional leaders, can play to ensure that no life is lost during the summer initiation season. I so move. United Democratic Movement, not UTM.
The EFF. Order, honourable members.
House Chair, I rise on behalf of the EFF that in its next sitting, the House debates the use of money bill legislation available to Parliament to make changes to the proposed budget allocation by the Minister of Finance in light of Fees Must Fall campaign. I so move.
The DA.
Thank you, Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, this House, noting that Earth's warmest temperatures ever recorded in the month of October occurred on Tuesday, 27th October in South Africa, when Vredendal hit an astonishing 48.4 degrees Celsius, and that global warming possesses a real threat to our environment and can no longer be swept under the rug, and debates the horrific consequences and dangers of global warming.
The IFP.
Thank you very much, Honourable House Chairperson. Noting that South Africa will head to the polls in 2006 for the local government elections, I hereby move on the Inkatha Freedom Party that at its next sitting, I am very sure, I'm very sure, that the House debated its next sitting the democratic imperative to ensure that the 2016 local government elections are free and fair and free from fear. I so move.
The Honourable Kubisa.
Thank you, Honourable House Chairperson. On the next sitting day of this House, I'll rise and move on behalf of the National Freedom Party that this House debates the problems of overcrowding in prisons in our country. So move.
The EFF. No, the honourable member at the back. Honourable member, identify the member at the back.
You.
Enkosi Sihlalo, ndiphakamela phantsi kwe-EFF ndithi le ndlu xa iphinda ihlala kwixesha elizayo sikhe sixoxe ngendlela yabasebenzi migodini abangakhuselekanga ngayo abawelwa imigodi imihla nezolo itafile ukutsho. I so move.
The Democratic Alliance.
Thank you, Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, the House debates the effects of the climate change and the current drought in KZN and the impact on local communities, the economy of the province, and the impending effects on food security and unemployment. Yes, thank you.
The IFP.
Thank you very much, Honourable House Chairperson. In light of South Africa's own looming Arab Spring, I hereby give notice that I shall move on behalf of the IFP that this House debates defending South Africa's Chapter 9 institutions for the sake of accountability in our constitutional democracy. I so move.
The member of the EFF.
I rise on behalf of the EFF that in its next sitting, the House debates public debt that is just under 50% of the GDP and its impact on the sovereignty of the country as far as fiscal and monetary policy decisions are concerned. I so move.
The ANC.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chairperson. I hereby move on behalf of the African National Congress that in its next sitting, the House debates the government, private sector, and labor partnership geared at finding ways to stimulate inclusive growth to deal with the rising unemployment. I thank you.
The DA.
Thank you, Chair. I hereby give notice on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, this House debates the wisdom of the Industrial Development Corporation's move to construct a $5 billion integrated steel plant in Mpumalanga in partnership with the state-owned Chinese steelmaker Hebai, given the current 600 million ton global oversupply of steel. I so move.
The ANC.
Thank you, Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the ANC that in its next sitting, the House debates the rise of unknown deaths due to the escalation of proliferation of unlicensed guns in our communities. I thank you.
The IFP.
Thank you. On behalf of the Inkatha Freedom Party, I shall move at the next sitting of this House that the House debates the dismal failure of the Department of Small Business Development in fulfilling its mandate to support small business and entrepreneurs amid a crippling national unemployment crisis and a rising frustration among our youth. I thank you.
The EFF.
Thank you, Chair. I rise on behalf of the EFF that in its next sitting, the House debates appointment of kitchen staff, in particular at Marx Building in Parliament, through outsourcing. I so move.
The ANC.
I move on behalf of the ANC that in its next sitting, the House debates the role of India partnership in the development of an economic prosperity in an integrated and united Africa. I so move.
The DA.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, this House debates the DA's comprehensive and practical plan to adjust the budget in order to fund free quality higher education for poor students.
The IFP, did you have another motion?
Thank you very much, Honourable House Chairperson. I hereby move on behalf of the IFP that this House, at its next sitting, debate the perpetual absence of cabinet ministers from sittings of this House and the negative impact this has on political accountability and our democracy. I so move.
Honourable Davis.
Thank you, Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, this House debates the Minister of Basic Education's failure to be present for 2 consecutive sessions in Parliament. I so move.
Are there any further motions? Yes, Honourable Member. Honourable Schlope.
Thank you, Chair. I rise on behalf of the EFF that in its next sitting, the House should debate the introduction of free quality education for all, in light of the reformist call of free education for few, as raised by the Minister of Higher Education. For all.
Honourable Ndlozi.
I rise on behalf of the EFF that at its next sitting, the House debates the suitability of Honourable Boroto to preside over Parliament sessions, both its plenary and committees. I so move.
Yes, Honourable Member.
I rise on behalf of the economic freedom fighters that the House in the next sitting discuss the disappointing, deplorable conditions that domestic workers in parliamentary villages, especially in Acacia, find themselves in. conditions which are disappointing and members of the ANC in the majority subject such domestic workers to. So I move.
Honorable members, we now come to motions. Yes.
I rise on behalf of the EFF that in its next sitting, the House should debate introduction of national minimum wage as a means to fight poverty and massive inequalities. I so move.
Are there any other motions? Notice of motion? Honorable members, we now come to motions without notice. Are there any motions without notice? The ANC?
Honorable Chair, the ANC moves without notice that the House congratulates the Department of Home Affairs for winning the ICT Service Delivery and Transformation Award in the National Government category at the ICT Public Service Award held in Durban on Sunday, the 25th of October 2015. Notes that the ICT Service Delivery and Transformation Award seeks to recognize and reward the most outstanding service delivery or a product or a service and or transformation at a national government level, acknowledges that the Department of Home Affairs was nominated for the Smart ID Card project, which forms part of the department's broader modernization program. Believes that the recognition is testament to the department's commitment to delivering quality services and wishes the Department of Home Affairs more success in their endeavors. I thank you.
I put the motion. Are there any objections?
House Chair, they are awarding themselves these things.
Honorable member, do you object?
Now the Economic Freedom Fighters object.
There's objection. The motion is not agreed to. The Democratic Alliance?
Thank you, House Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that this House, 1, notes that Ivory Coast held elections on the 25th of October 2015. 2, further notes that this was the second election that took place after the violence that marked the elections in 2010. 3, commends the people of Ivory Coast for holding peaceful elections. 4, congratulates President Alassane Ouattara for his re-election as president with almost 84% of the vote, ensuring a landslide victory for his party RDR. 5, wish success to the people of Ivory Coast as the economy has grown by up to 8% per year over the past 5 years and is projected to grow up to 9% next year. I so move.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections? Are there any objections?
Honorable House Chair, please don't intimidate us. Right?
Honorable member.
So let me.
Are you objecting?
The Economic Freedom Fighters object to
There's
this
an objection. It's not
motion.
agreed to. The honorable member of the EFF.
I rise on behalf of the EFF to move without notice.
Order, honorable members.
I rise on behalf of the EFF to move without notice that the House knows that the drought forecast for this year, said to be amongst the worst this country has seen, have highlighted the real struggles for water that the majority of poor people living in townships and villages have been facing for years. Further knows that Minister Mkonyane has been going around over the past few weeks trying to make South Africans accept that as a result of poor leadership and lack of planning by a department, this country will now face severe water shortages. Acknowledges that the impending water crisis in this country is not only as a result of drought, but mainly as a result of years of neglect of water infrastructure by the ANC government. This means that the people of Giani, Bushbuckridge, Muthutlung, and many more other areas promised water will not get water under the ANC government. Just like it was the case with electricity, water infrastructure before 1994 was never made to benefit black people, but only for the tiny white population. The failure of the ANC to invest in water infrastructure, therefore, is the cause of this water crisis. Further acknowledges that the water crisis is further worsened by the fact that the South African state does not own the dams that we have. Of the 5,000 122 registered dams in this country. Only 320 are owned by the state, with the rest in private hands. This then leads to the commodification of water, depriving many poor people the right to access good quality water. We call on the Department of Water and Sanitation to come clean and let the country know the true extent of the water problems facing South Africans. And what is doing to avert this crisis, I so move.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections?
The ANC objects.
Objection. The motion is not agreed to. The NFP.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. I move on behalf of the National Freedom Party that this Honourable House notes that on Monday, the 2nd of November 2015, Warrant Officer Thomas Mabada, who was stationed at the Siloam police station close to Thohoyandou in the Limpopo province, was killed in the line of duty. And also notes that at the time of his death, Warrant Officer Mabada and his partner was in hot pursuit of suspected armed robbers on the road between Siloam and Thohoyandou when he was finally shot. And finally notes that Warrant Officer Mabada, an experienced police officer, was aged 52 at the time of his death. Wherefore, we call upon this Honourable House to express its condolences to the bereaved family and friends of the late Warrant Officer Thomas Mabada, who died in the line of duty, and urge the South African police to leave no stone unturned in finding and apprehending the criminals who killed Warrant Officer Mabada and bring them to face justice, and call upon the community of Siloam to assist the South African police in the investigation into the murder of Warrant Officer Mabada. I so move.
Honourable members, I now put the motion. Are there any objections?
EFF object.
There's an objection. It's not agreed to. The ANC.
Thank you, House Chair. The African National Congress moved without notice that the House notes with sadness the passing on of Matlo Elizabeth Ramatlodi on Tuesday, the 3rd November 2015, at the age of 95. Recalls that Matlo Elizabeth Ramatlodi is the mother of the recently appointed Minister of Public Service and Administration, Ngwaku Ramatlodi. Believe that Matlo Ramatlodi has been sick for quite some time and was staying with the minister at the Pretoria home. Declares that our hearts are with minister's family during these trying times and convey its condolences to the Ramatlodi family, friends and relatives. I thank you.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections. Agreed to. The Democratic Alliance.
House Chair, I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that this House notes that news broke earlier today that a cargo plane carrying passengers crashed just after taking off from Juba in South Sudan. Also notes that reports indicate that at least 41 people died in the accident, most of whom were civilians on the ground when the plane fell. Acknowledges that it seems like only one crew member and a child survived the accident. Conveys our sincere condolences to the crew, family and friends of the deceased, and sends our sincere condolences to the government of South Sudan. I so move.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections. Agreed to. Honourable Ndlozi.
Thank you, House Chairperson. I rise on behalf of the EFF to move without notice that the House notes that the EFF Students' Command has secured a remarkable and decisive victory at the Vaal University of Technology. Notes that all of the 16 contested positions the EFF-SC won, all the seats with an average difference of 1,000 votes. That the 100% victory is happening for the second time, despite attempts by ANC children, SASCO, Minister of Higher Education, Blade Nzimande, NC Parliamentary Caucus, and VUT management's spreading of rumors that the SRC President Toye Matebula of the EFF was involved in corruption. That this 100% victory happened against millions of rands that were spent by SASCO, the ANC at all levels to bribe students to vote for them. That the ANC brought KFC, a Coca-Cola truck, bought meat, and even distributed money in an attempt to buy students' loyalty. That the entire national leadership and officials of the ANC Youth Desk, its former leaders, ANC regional and provincial leaders went to VUT to campaign against the EFFSC. That despite these attempts, students at VUT overwhelmingly rejected the ANC and showed confidence in the EFF Student Command. That the determination and discipline of VUT students should be reflected in all local government elections where voters must reject food parcels and T-shirts of the ANC and the DA. That Parliament should congratulate Troy Matebula for being re-elected president of the SRC, that the EFF remains the hope of ordinary students, and that the House must stand and give the EFF a round of applause.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections?
ANC objection.
There's an objection. It's not agreed to. The UDM.
Thank you, House Chair. Nakon kenda komisa ngempepho kulakona naphinde ndibhide ke ngoku. I hereby move without notice on behalf of the United Democratic Movement that the House notes that Nadia Miller and Zodwa Dube from Port Elizabeth won the 2015 Herald GM Youth Citizenship Award and the 2015 Herald GM Citizen of the Year Award, respectively, at a Glitzy Award ceremony held in Port Elizabeth last week, Friday. Further notes that Nadia was recognized for the Little Stewart Play School she opened in the backyard of a township home at Woma in Port Elizabeth, while Zodo was recognized for her Maro Masakane program, which endeavors to increase the number of black stem cell donors. Recognizes that these awards, which were given for the first time this year, aim to encourage and recognize people who are making a positive contribution in their communities. Congratulates Nadia and Zodwa for their outstanding achievements and their contributions in building a better South Africa for all. Wishes them all the best in all their future endeavors. I so move.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections?
For calling the party of General Bantu Olomisa the DA, we object.
There's an objection. It's not agreed to. The ANC.
Chair, the ANC moves without notice that the House notes with sadness the death of an ANC SACP and trade unionist veteran Sarah Kanzen on the 29th of October 2015 at the age of 99. Recalls that the activists started activities in 1938 when she began working for the National Union of Distributive Workers and also became the secretary of the Tobacco Workers Union. Further recalls that in 1954, she was banned by the apartheid government and could no longer hold office in any union, forcing her to go underground in 1960. Acknowledges that in 1967, she was imprisoned for breaching her banning orders, and after her release from prison in 1968, she went into exile. Further acknowledges that Sarah and her husband Fred worked for the movement in exile, brought up 3 children, Lynn, John, and Ruth, and returned to the country when the ANC and the SACP were unbanned, and conveys condolences to her family, friends, and comrades. Hambagahle, Comrade Sarah Kanesen Hambagahle. I so move, Chair.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections? There's no objections. It's agreed to. The EFF.
Thank you, House Chair. I rise on behalf of the economic freedom fighters to move without notice that the House notes the shortage of water in Khasekhonyana municipal area in Kuruman, particularly in the villages of Bankara and Maruping. Further note that the mayor of Khasekhonyana local municipality, Mr. Gibson Anthony, at some stage addressed the people of Maruping, promising them that the municipality will resolve the issue of the water, and further promising them that the municipality will be providing them with water tanks and will be filled every day without any cost to the community. Acknowledges that till today, the taps throughout those villages remain dry, while the municipality continues to spend millions on corrupt procurement practices which benefits only a tiny minority of business people connected to the ANC in that municipality. Further acknowledge that those who are responsible for servicing water infrastructure in the municipality cannot do so because of the shortage of fleet in the municipality. The fleet of the municipality has not been serviced
for a number of years, and as a result, it's not in a good working condition. Note that even though the municipality has this problem, they have not stopped distributing food parcels and blankets to ANC-linked people in those villages. We call on the Minister of Kokta and the MEC in the Northern Cape to investigate this situation in Khaskhonyana and ensure that people in that area have water. We further call on the MEC in the Northern Cape of Kokta to investigate procurement practices of the municipality so that to root out corruption and ensure that the needs of the people are well taken care of. We further call on the people of Bankara, Maruping, and the surrounding villages come 2016 to reject the ANC government by going to the polls and voting for the economic freedom fighters. I so move.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections?
ANC objection.
There's an objection. The motion is not agreed to. Let us take the NFP.
Thank you, House Chairperson. On behalf of the NFP, I move without notice that this House knows that over 200 businesses in Ghana Mall in the main street of Tongat were without water services for 8 days. So know that the business owners attempted to report the problem to the ward councillor, but the councillor was nowhere to be found. And further note that in desperation, the business owners approached the NFP to assist, whereafter we followed up the problem with numerous phone calls and emails. In addition, notes that the initial response of a Tivin municipality to the inquiries of the NFP was to assume that the low levels of the dams supplying the municipality with water was to blame for the lack of water. But it later transpired that the problem was indeed a faulty valve. Finally, notes that the water crisis of businesses in Tongat has now been resolved after continuous intervention of the NFP. Wherefore, we call upon this Honorable House to express its displeasure at the incompetence of a Tegwini municipality and the Department of Water and Sanitation to deal with the water crisis experienced by the businesses in Tongat and their failure to assess the merits and of the complaints raised by the business people within the levels of urgency it deserves. I so move.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections? There's an objection.
The ANC objects, yes.
There's an objection. The motion is not agreed to. The EFF?
I rise on behalf of the EFF to move without notice that the House notes the continuation of a morally reprehensible culture of abusive workers by private, white-owned companies in South Africa, particularly in the Western Cape, where company owners act with impunity in abusing the rights of workers. Further note that the company called Pellet Supply Company, based in Blackheath in the northern suburbs of Cape Town, is notorious for treating workers as if they were worse than animals, employing them as casual workers for more than 10 years on some instances and not providing them with protective wear, even though they work in conditions that are compromising their health. Acknowledge that one such worker, Mr. Mlindeli Jack, worked for this company for more than 28 years under conditions that were hazardous to his own health because of the dust that comes out of the pellets. He was recently diagnosed with a condition that makes it impossible for him to work as a result of that dust that has accumulated in his system for all these years. Further acknowledge that Pellet Supply Company only offered him 15,000, which they called a gesture of goodwill because they did not have to pay him anything, as they have been paying him a salary for the past 28 years and therefore did not owe him a cent. This means that Mr. Jack was employed by this company as a casual worker for 28 years without any benefits. Calls on Parliament to tighten up its oversight mechanism to ensure that predominantly black workers are not treated like slaves in their own country 21 years after attainment of freedom. Further calls on the Department of Labor to censor the Pellet Supply Company and ensure that it adheres to labor regulation and stop abusing its workers. I so move.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections? There's no objections. It's agreed to. Honorable Matiase.
House Chair, I rise on behalf of the Economic Freedom Fighters to move without notice that the House notes that by 1996, government had discarded the RDP, a document which carried the shared aspirations and hopes of our people and propose practical steps to transform South Africa from a colonial and apartheid to a non-racial, non-sexist and democratic society. 2, to note that in place of the RDP, government implemented GEAR, a macroeconomic policy framework which justified and entrenched the capitalist logic of market fundamentalism. Further note that despite these policy frameworks, no strategy for radical economic transformation exists. Government opted the so-called black economic empowerment, which empowered those with links with the ruling party, such as Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. 4, this resulted in Mr. Ramaphosa's appointment to head a Black Economic Empowerment Commission. It is not surprising that he is now one of the key beneficiaries of the BEE. He sits in this parliament and continues to make business with the state. 5, note that the second phase of the BEE was introduced with the formulation of industry empowerment charters, the BBEE Act, and a series of implementation codes. 6, recognizes that despite the black economic empowerment improved slightly, the broad-based black economic empowerment has failed to tamper with the structural distortions of the ownership and wealth distribution in this country. Despite the BBEE Act, which affirms a more decisive state control in the transformation of the economy, this has not been done. In fact, this has been kept on the margins of the real economy. To note that broad-based BEE is not adequate to address these distortions, as it seems to perpetuate the concentration of wealth in the hands of few and small elites. Further call for an introduction of a discourse to end capitalist exploitation. Invest in productive capacities of the people, especially the poor, in the areas such as education, health, and sanitation. Stop the pay-as-you-earn principle and provide free quality education for all now. Finally, call for an accession to the Economic Freedom March demands that instead of narrow BEE, all companies must be compelled by law to distribute a minimum of 50% of the companies to workers to ensure worker control. So I move.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections?
The ANC objects, Chair.
There's an objection. The motion is not agreed to. The honourable member there at the back, I think it's from the UDM.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I move without notice on behalf of United Democratic Movement that the House notes that the Mdantsane-born musician Siya Makhuzeni was announced as 2016 Standard Bank Young Artist for Jazz on Wednesday night, the 28th October 2015. Further notes that the former Sterling pupil, now a professional trombone player, vocalist, lyrics, and songwriter, said she was still trying to wrap her head around her achievement. Recognizes that the 33-year-old said her journey into music began when she joined the Sterling Primary School choir. Further recognizes that the winners receive cash incentive and are given support to develop and premiere new works that will be featured on the main program of next year's National Arts Festival in Grahamstown. And lastly, congratulates Makhuzeni on her best achievement and wishing her well in her music career. I so move.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections?
Economic Freedom Fighters object.
There's an objection. It is not agreed to. Yes, honourable member.
I rise on behalf of the EFF to move without notice that the House notes the community of Ledig in Bujanala is forced to wait over 10 years while the Premier of Northwest obstruct justice and protect corrupt ANC leaders. The Premier, who is responsible for the assassination of Wandile Bozwan, Note that the Ledich community received donations from Sun City and Wesizwe Mine, respectively, to repair and maintain the aging water infrastructure and renovation of community schools. Further note that a top ANC leader, Mr. Pulukhane, and his friends embezzled and defrauded the community by illegally transferring money from the community's bank account without permission from anyone. Understand that after investigation conducted by a community-appointed administrator, a criminal case was opened against Mr. Pulukhane and friends, but to this day, no arrests have been made. Recognize that because the Premier treats the police provincial commissioner as his own personal security, issuing instructions to say who can be arrested and who cannot be arrested. As a result, his political connected friends are now law unto themselves. Call on the police to finalize the Ledich community case of fraud against the ANC leader, Mr. Pulukhane, as a matter of agency. Further call on and encourage all men in blue to do their job. Investigate reported cases and arrest people who are breaking the law without being influenced by politicians or criminals. I so move.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections?
Chair, we object to the motion.
It's an objection, it's not agreed to. Are there any further motion without notice? Yes, Honourable Member.
Thank you, House Chair. I rise on behalf of the economic freedom fighters to move without notice that the House notes that yesterday, the 3rd of November, marked the 51st birthday of the late South African music icon Brenda Fassie. Further notes that Brenda Nokuzola Fassie was born on the 3rd of November 1964 in Langa Township, Cape Town, and went on to revolutionize the music industry in South Africa in a manner never seen before, even during the time when apartheid authorities did everything in their power to suppress any form of black talent. Acknowledges that the iconic performer left such an indelible legacy for the music industry in South Africa with such timeless tracks as Weekend Special, Vulindlela, Noma Kanjani, Wedding Day, and many others. These are songs that will never die and continue to find resonance with many South Africans. Further acknowledges that the Madonna of the townships, as she became known, broke down every single barrier that apartheid and the corrupt and abusive music industry put around the careers of black artists. Note that Brenda was so loved by South Africans that she would fill up to capacity any venue where she was an attraction, including the then Alice Park Stadium. Sends its word of appreciation to the family of Brenda Fassie for giving up Brenda for the greater good of the country. Calls on the government to build an academy named and dedicated to Brenda to develop township talent, train this talent to manage finances and the pressures of celebrity life in a responsible manner, to avoid taking drugs, and to be able to stand up to music producers who often take artists for granted. I so move.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections?
The motion was not circulated.
There is an objection. The motion is not agreed to. The UDM?
Thank you, Chair. I move without notice on behalf of the United Democratic Movement that the House notes that there is an incident reported where 2 Fidelity security guards were shot and wounded by alleged robbers. Further notes that the event took place at the St. Barnabas Hospital precinct in Libode, Eastern Cape. It happened after they decided to enter into the hospital precinct for safety, when their car was chased down by an unknown Toyota Fortuner. Further condemns any form of criminal activities that continue to be perpetuated by our defiant criminals. Wishes the 2 security guards speedy recovery from their injuries. I so move.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections? There's no objection. It's agreed to. Honourable members, I will now ask the Secretary to read the order of the day.
Consideration of report of Standing Committee on Finance on 2015 revised fiscal framework.
The chairperson of the committee, the Honourable Karim, will introduce the report.
Chairperson, comrades, colleagues. Basically, my responsibility is to take you through the
an overview of the report that we adopted yesterday, the Fiscal Framework Report. We had the Parliamentary Budget Office, trade unions, the Finance and Fiscal Commission, academics and NGOs make representations to us in the public hearings. There weren't enough of them, and there weren't a wide enough range. And I think Parliament needs to do more to secure public participation. But what we have agreed to, I think, across all parties, is that we can't just have the public come. First, we have the Minister and Deputy Minister and team come and make representations, Minister, to Parliament, and then to the committees concerned. And then we have the public make representations to us. And we think, Minister, that now the Treasury should come back. So we hear both sides, and then we can listen to the PBO with its independent advice and have a report that's more balanced and got greater depth. So we also think that when we're adopting the actual report like yesterday, the Fiscal Framework Report, we like Treasury to be there because issues came up that we needed clarification for in the last instance. We need an activist Parliament. We need a more people-centered Parliament. And the medium-term budget policy statement, the fiscal framework and the adjustments appropriations does require far more participation from the public than we're able to manage to secure in this fifth term of Parliament. So we have signaled to the officials of National Treasury we need more active engagement. Not that they don't, of course, engage with all the stakeholders, and indeed, by the standards of many committees that I've chaired and departments, the committees that I've been responsible for, have an oversight over, National Treasury does in fact consult, as emerged also today in looking at the two tax bills before us. We have suggested in our report, not suggested, we've recommended in our report, Minister, as you may well know, that National Treasury considers the submissions made by the stakeholders and reports to us when it comes to us, to the two committees concerned, or the four committees, if we include the NCOP, in the first quarter of next year after the Minister presents the budget in February. We had representations from Ilife Labantwana, an NGO, Minister, that focuses on early childhood development. And we are very struck by what they had to say. And of course, we know these things, but it's important that they came and said it yet again. Let me read what our report says. It says, indeed, that the NGOs hold, this NGO holds, that scientific evidence shows that investment in early childhood education, the period from conception to age 3, offers higher economic returns compared to an equal investment in education at later stages in life. What chance have we got of securing equality, relative equality in our society, if we do not invest more in early childhood development? Which is not to say, by the way, there's any subtext here, that we mustn't give more money to tertiary education. But if we are going to achieve egalitarianism, relative social equality, if we are going to even reduce inequalities, we have to invest more in early childhood development. In fact, they threw back to us what the NDP says, and they also pointed out the inadequacies in the national ECD system, Minister. Obviously, the Minister, you have to work with the Minister of Social Development. We're not saying it's a Treasury matter alone. Government as a whole needs to preoccupy itself with this. But what we were struck about, comrades, colleagues, is that they stress the need to support non-center-based care and home-based programs to provide the foundations for equality. They were concerned that the MTBPS is too limited in its focus and allocation of ECD resources to ensure a meaningful realization of ECD priorities as set out. I thought I'm having 10 minutes.
You have 5 minutes, Honourable Member, of which 3.5 is now
but it's
expired.
not fair. I mean, everybody says 10 minutes.
You must be sorted out
Let
with
me
the
focus
whips.
on the education issue. We agree that the standing committees and select committee on finance has to work with the appropriations committee. We've said very clearly in our report there are two key aspects: the no-fee increases for 2016 and the funding of free tertiary education for the needy. We say not poor, but needy, because we don't want to lose what's called the missing middle. And we think it's for government to sit with all the stakeholders and secure some degree of consensus, or as far as possible, on what do we mean by needy. We're saying that in the first instance, while it's the Appropriations Committee's responsibility, the finance committees on both sides feel that some consideration should be given to DHET, reprioritizing its own budget, that the universities, of course, must come to the party to the extent they can. Consideration we also feel needs to be given to the CETAs and the National Skills Fund, while ensuring that the skills training needs of the country are not unduly undermined. We also recommend that through engagement, we consider, as we've said, providing free education to the needy, and that's a concept that needs clarity and definition, and we feel the executive must be working on that and come to Parliament on what exactly
We also feel that the NSFAS repayment of loans and bursaries, once a person graduates and they can afford to pay, more needs to be done to secure the money they owe the state so that incoming students can get more allocations or a larger number of people can be allocated funds. We also stressed the need to recognize our concerns as a committee, but National Treasury shares many of this, about the decline in revenues during the MTF period, the decline in the contingency reserve, the fiscal risks posed by South African Airways, and we've suggested to the Minister that reasonably soon National Treasury should work with South African Airways and ensure that it's financially viable. We are also, like National Treasury, concerned about the high rate of debt to GDP ratio and increasing debt service costs. And we believe that, however, that this should be managed in ways that do not undermine the country's developmental goals.
Honourable Member, your time is now
more
expired.
clarity on the fiscal rule of thumb guideline. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I now recognize the Honourable, the Chief Whip of the Majority Party. I now recognize the Honourable, the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
I'm happy to step in if you need.
Thanks, House Chairperson. I move that the report be adopted.
The motion is that the report be adopted. Are there any objections?
Chairperson, the DA would like to make a declaration, please. Thank you.
I will now allow parties to make declarations for up to 2 minutes. The Democratic Alliance.
Thank you, Chairperson. The Standing Committee on Finance's report on the revised fiscal framework is slapdash. That's because the report was a rush job, pulled together at the last minute without any proper deliberations, largely because somebody somewhere was eager to please the Finance Minister and accommodate his travel plans. The report does not properly deal with the current versus capital expenditure, the primary balance, where there's a deficit of 24 billion, the budget balance, where there's a deficit of 157.9 billion, contingent liabilities, which are now at 485 billion, or the nuclear build program, which is estimated to be R1 trillion. The report does, however, mention and notes with concern the gross national debt, which is now 2 trillion, and the high debt service costs, which are now 127.9 billion. The numbers are staggering, and if you listen to former President Kgalema Motlanthe, they are red flags. And yet it took significant effort, and I have to say a thick skin, just to achieve a note with concern in this report, let alone any deliberations as to whether debt levels or debt service interest costs are reasonable. But the low point of this shambles was the National Treasury, who refused to provide comprehensive information on contingent liabilities, the public sector debt, and the public sector borrowing requirement. We are now on a collision course, and I want the National Treasury to listen very carefully. I am not your galley slave. If you want a war, that's fine. But know this, you have come to the right place, and you will lose badly. The next time I ask a question, stop zigzagging and answer the question as you are required to do by the Constitution.
Honourable Member, your time has expired. EFF.
Thank you, House Chair. The EFF rejects the adoption of the report by the Standing Committee on Finance. The recommendation provided are of a committee that is in denial, like the rest of the government, that our economy is in crisis, and it failed to offer any practical solution. The current public debt, that is just under 50% of the GDP, is not suitable and will collapse this country's budget. Today, South Africa spends more on servicing the debt than we spent on both higher and basic education and health combined. Last year, South Africa paid more than 114 billion just to service the debt. What is even more alarming is the fact that while the entire budget is growing at an average of 6.5% and all other social services expenditure, the allocation to service the public debt is projected to grow at more than 10%. This will not only collapse the budget, but soon it will put the sovereignty of this country in further jeopardy. not only in the public debt a serious cause of concern, this is happening when the economy is growing. The downward revision from the overshot 2% initially projected was even necessary. There was no basis for this because it is obvious the economy is not growing at all and the ANC government is in denial. And the Minister of Finance must stop misleading the nation by claiming that the economy is not growing due to the fact that of post-2008 financial crisis, because that is not true and you know it, and you keep on misleading South Africa. You know you can't perform as the ANC. The current global average growth is well over 3%. SADC members are at an average of 5%. For an example,
Honourable
Kenya
Member, your time
economy
is now expired.
projected to grow at 5.5% in 2015. The EFF rejects the budget. Thank you.
The IFP.
Thank you. Firstly, I would just like to state that the IFP supports this report. This is one committee that is also very important to us, which I do attend, and it is commendable and worth noting again that National Treasury aims to reduce the budget deficit over the medium term from 3.3% in 2016-17 to 3% in 2018-19. Poor growth outlook over the medium term remains a concern, and we agree that any additional revenue proposals have to be sensitive to the impact on growth. Levels of debt must be carefully managed and gauged, especially in light of the current high negative rates of exchange volatility. Tertiary institution fee increases and government subsidy of the same for 2016 must be allowed for, and the necessary adjustment made. And we actually applaud the formation of the new committee by the President that will look at addressing the issues of the students' fees. Overall funding for higher education requires an urgent funding model, and we look forward to the Minister advising us as to exactly how this will be accomplished in the coming years. The shortfall in an NSFAS over 2016-17 period, although only approximately a challenge, it will also need to be met by Treasury. In respect of early childhood development and programs, we agree that there must be a shift in the MTEF to ensure that new policies are implemented effectively, and in so doing lay strong foundations for the achievement of the goals as espoused in the NDP. I think when the chairperson of the committee spoke on this matter of early childhood development, members were actually taking note, and this is what we're bringing forth as the IFP.
Honourable Member, your time is expired. Thank you. The Honourable Kubisa.
Chairperson, honourable members, the NFP welcomes the report. As to be expected, the committee is justifiable placing significant emphasis on the results of the recent fees must fall protest, and in particular on the implications of government's undertaking that there will be no increase in fees for the next year on the medium-term budget policy statement. The NFP calls for the government to speed up the issue of free education in our country, and we believe that this is possible. Again, the National Freedom Party says that the National Treasurer should engage more effectively with various departments to see what more can be done about the crippling drought affecting the key parts of our country. We believe that this intervention might be too little, too late. The National Freedom Party has been warning this Honourable House continuously since last year that we are facing a looming water crisis. We warn continuously that the drought could seriously threaten our food security and leave millions of our people without access to clean water and safe drinking water. Ey'ndaweni nje zasemakhaya imfuyo iyafa ziki inqane. Ey'ndaweni ey'fana noLundi nakwezinye indawo abantu bafelwa zinkomo, bafelwa zimbuzi, bafelwa yiyo yonke into ekhona ngenxa yesomiso. Kuze kwathi ke ngeviki edlule sabona uhulumeni esedeclare indawo ey'fana KwaZulu-Natal ne-Free State as disaster areas. We see also kuma district afana nelembe ukuthi abantu sebathola amanzi ngemva kweinsuku ezintathu okuyisimo esibucayi kakhulu ezweni lakithi eindaweni ezifana koMtuba nakwezinye indawo nakwamanye ama district abantu sebephuza amaxhaphozini baphuze neinkomo baphuza udaka uqobo lwawo isimo sibucayi ezweni lakithi abantu bayafa isomiso imfuyo iyafa isomiso ilokho esikushoyo ukuthi uhulumeni akayilungise lezi zinto okunye sikushoyo njenge NFP sithi uhulumeni akaphuthume enza ama head counts kuma department so that there will be no ghost employees ngoba lo badla imali kahulumeni ekufanele ngabe isiza abakhokhi bentela kuzizwe liqhubeka liye phambili kulungisa isimo somnotho oqeda ubupha.
Honourable member, your time
ezweni
has
lakithi.
expired.
The NFP welcomes the report.
The next speaker is the Honourable Kwankwa of the UDM.
Well, thank you very much for that reminder, House Chair. Indeed, I'm Honorable Kwango of the UDM. Well, the United Democratic Movement grudgingly supports this report for one simple reason. Ixesha elikhoyo lokwenza this BRRR process alikho enough. It's either we want to do it properly, siyenzisise okanye siyingxamise just for the sake of it. Well, if we look at Mr. Minister, for example, we always have a serious challenge with the focus. Like if you do look at the stock of public debt, apho kuvela kube lula ukuthi in 1 year gross is about 48, and then following financial year, which is 2018-2019, it's going to come down to about 45%. Ufumanisa ukuthi azikho realistic. It's the same with the issue where you look at umzekelo uthi your budget deficit is now come down from 3.3% in 2016-2017 to about 3% in 2018-2019, and yet the outlook, if you read all the documents, the outlook is very bleak. When it comes to the performance of the economy, you had to revise down the growth rate of the country and so on. But the other issue which is very important, I think it's important that as people who first advocated the issue of state interventionist policies to the ruling party, our new mantra should be to you now that the problem with the South African economy is not one where government is not doing enough, but the problem lies with a government that is doing a lot more but doing it less well. And one can find that very easily in state-owned enterprises where it guarantees the 400 more than 240 billion rands has been used up, but the problem is that most of these SOEs are still unstable. Siyavuya xa sibona ukuthi Eskom noko ingathi uzebantu inoqhwala ngendlela eliyaphakama, but the rest of them aren't doing well. And it means ukuthi khange sifumane kwa value for money ngoku imali yethu sebeyikilo SAA as an example. We have an issue, a serious problem with the contingency reserves ezisetyenziswa for salaries, which is consumption expenditure. But
Honourable member, your time is now expired.
We're not getting value for money. They are not commensurate rises in the productivity levels. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The Honourable Chaisa.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. AIC welcomes the report. The proper revision of fiscal framework can assist the government to fight the challenges of unemployment, poverty, and inequality. The consultation that has been done with other stakeholders like Federation of Unions of South Africa and others is very much appreciated. We also acknowledge the improvement of the country's debt ratios. Otherwise, if the debt is not reduced, it would not be easy for our economy to grow. The country's social economy would make the government to be easily afford for the university fees and funding model of the National Student Financial Aid Scheme would also be carried out. It would be proper, therefore, to assist the students who are coming from the poor background, not just to finance the rich. The MTPS has tried to balance the budget and the expected expenditure. Universities should produce more skilled citizens who would like to employ it. We need more of job creation than job seekers. Perhaps the reconciliation between the two would help in growing the economy of our country. However, we need to see how the economic growth is to be stimulated. The recommendations now that have been made by the committee are proper, and we think they should be considered. So there are many issues that should be tackled: water and sanitation, infrastructure, and other basics. Lastly, Honourable Chairperson, Can I be given a chance now to manage that corner? It seems to be getting out of hands. Thank you very much.
You are free to take up that responsibility, Honourable Member. The Honourable Van Rooyen.
Thank you very much, House Chair. The revised fiscal framework reflects proportionality and prioritization in terms of the ANC government policy and the relationship between fiscal policy and the medium-term strategic framework. It reflects, among other things, effort under difficult global circumstances of sustaining the principle of an equitable sharing of resources. Whilst, Honourable Chair, we hear the noise that the level of debt is too high, no one provides any compelling empirical evidence as to what a sustainable debt level should be for a country of our GDP size. Rather, rhetoric is stated with no evidence to back it. And I must indicate to those who are not attending our Finance Committee, we have resolved that we are going to assign the Budget Office to do a study on what is it that we are referring to when we speak of an acceptable debt level ratio. And we are challenging all these parties that are not attending the study group to come on board and participate in this important process. We have listened to their calls for changes to the fiscal framework, as if this is merely a matter of fact and easily instituted. To amend the Money Bills Act, there must be empirical evidence advanced that can demonstrate that any change will ensure an appropriate balance between revenue, expenditure, and borrowing. That the cost of recurrent spending is not deferred to future generations, that there is adequate provision for spending on infrastructure development, capital spending, and maintenance. The manner in which changes to the 2015 fiscal framework are being called for today do not take into account any of these legal requirements. On higher education, Honourable Chairperson, the funding thereof, the proposed alternatives that have been tabled mentioned today, no fee increases in tertiary education institutions.
Honourable Member, your time is now expired.
As the ANC, we support this revised fiscal framework.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Members, I'll ask the question again. Are there any objections?
House Chair, please register the absolute rejection of the report by the economic freedom fighters.
Objection.
And fees must fall.
The objection of the EFF is recorded.
Chair was waiting for you to put the question, but please note the objections of the DA.
The question was put earlier. Honourable Members, we'll register the objection of the DA as well. The report is therefore agreed to, and that concludes the business for the day. The House is adjourned.